Single and tired of searching but never finding?
Or maybe you're already married, caught in cycles of frustration, unmet expectations, or just feeling like something is missing.
Or perhaps you're navigating the loneliness and pain after a divorce, unsure how to move forward, but knowing deep down this can't be the end of your story.
Wherever you are in your journey, you're not alone, and you don't have to stay stuck.
That's why we created Marriage School, a 4-day marriage revival retreat in Istanbul, Turkey. 4 transformational days,
5 powerful speakers,
1 unmissable opportunity
to reset your marriage. For married couples, this retreat is your invitation to rediscover each other in one of the world's most beautiful cities.
Imagine strolling through the historic streets of Istanbul,
sharing beautiful moments with your family.
Turn your marriage into a lifelong journey of sakina, where love is rekindled,
passion is renewed, and your bond deepens through inspiring seminars, workshops, and experiences designed just for you.
And for those sisters who need to bring a mahram, we have a special offer for you.
Sign up and register, and your mahram joins for free.
This is only for a limited time. Register now at the Marriage School at globalummahretreats.com. We'll see you in Istanbul, inshallah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Today we're going to have a very interesting conversation, hopefully informative and fun, edutainment, I guess. I'm here joined by my wife, Khalid. Thank you for joining us, Khalid. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about something that is controversial. Should it be controversial? I don't think so. But it's polygyny, having second wives or third or fourth. And people are commenting on the thumbnail that there are not just Khalid on the thumbnail, but 3 others. So who are the lucky ladies? We could ask. So we're gonna have I think, unique conversation, a very frank conversation about polygyny, inshallah, today. And we're also going to be looking at your comments in the chat. We're going to look at your super chat. So we want to be active with your comments, and we'll display them like this. So fandom here, always active. Good to see you, bro. So we want to do a few things. Like, what is the purpose of this stream? I think, and maybe Khalid can give her thoughts as well. Like, part of what we're trying to do is to make this less of a taboo conversation. Make it less taboo, kind of break the ice. The way that it's been talked about has been very tense. It has been very like the issue within the Muslim community in general, West and East, has been a very tense, like, ooh, we have to talk about trauma. We have to talk about, oh, this is destroying families, or, oh, this is this and that. Like, it's just a very sensitive, and people are on edge, and they're walking on eggshells. And it doesn't have to be that way. I think it doesn't have to be that way. We can have a balanced, honest discussion about the issue. It is a part of Islam, and it's a relevant issue today. And I think that that is greatly needed. And Khalid and we've been married, alhamdulillah, for over 17 years now. And this is something that we talk about, we joke about. It's not like walking on eggshells, is what I'm trying to say. And we're going to talk about, like, the different examples, for example, of this kind of arrangement of multiple wives actually being successful. Khalid is later in this stream, inshallah, going to give her own reflections on what are the benefits actually of polygyny, because the way that people talk about it is that, oh, this is just such a bad thing for the first wife. Oh, it's a disaster. It's trauma. It is so destructive. And oh, we only tolerate it because, it's a part of Islam. They say begrudgingly. These women say begrudgingly. So even the women who are, I remember there was an article that was written about one of these first wives whose husband had gotten a second wife. And she's writing about the experience. And the whole thing is like, she's basically a martyr, and this is something that she's only tolerating for the sake of Allah. But Khalid actually brings a different perspective, and she says, no, there are advantages, there are benefits that can be explained and described, and so she's going to talk about that later in the stream. I'm also going to say, give you some of the reasons why this has become such a charged issue and a sensitive issue when it doesn't have to be like. And hopefully you'll see that it's balanced, because sometimes when the men are talking about this, they want to blame the women for everything. They want to say this is the women's fault. This is because of feminism. This is because of this and that. And then vice versa. When the women talk, they just want to attack the men, or they want to criticize the men, and they have no self-reflection or accountability on that. So this is just a rough layout. What we're going to talk about. Is there? I feel there's some echo, Khalid. Do you hear that?
Not really. I feel like I can hear you pretty clearly, but maybe check in the chat. Can you guys hear okay?
There is like maybe some. I don't know. Maybe when I'm talking, there's some echo. Okay. Because I could wear headphones. There's some weird noises.
Hmm.
Let me just try to lower my volume.
Is my volume okay?
There's like a squeak.
With me?
I don't know.
With me or with you?
I can't tell if it's coming from on my side. It's not your chair. I don't know.
I don't think.
Okay. Yeah, there might be feedback on the mic. Maybe the volume is too high. I don't know. But it should be okay. All right, if it comes back, we'll address it. Okay, so just to break the ice. Yeah, there it is. I heard the squeak. Can you try to lower, or let me just see if I can change the settings. Yeah, you'll notice that we're recording in different locations in the house. That's for my safety, I guess.
I need my space, okay?
And the noise was the second wife.
Or the third, or the fourth. Allahu
Yeah,
Alam.
it could be
Multiple
anyone.
options.
Yeah. So let's see.
And we said we're not going to joke today, Daniel. Please be serious. This is a serious topic.
Yeah.
Chat is not helping. Stop joking, guys.
Okay, so let's try to. I'm going to break the ice. I'm going to give the brothers some tips for how you can convince your first wife to accept a second wife. Okay, these are lines that you can drop that are going to work wonders in convincing your first wife to accept a second wife. And we're going to have Khalid here, and she's going to rate these suggestions. And she's going to rate them, and she's going to do like a tier list. She's going to grade them from S tier at the top to F tier, because we know everyone loves tier lists, right? So we're going to have a tier list of lines that you can use with your first wife to convince her to get a new sister, basically. That's I guess the first line. Maybe you could rate it. Like, start calling the second wife. Oh, I'm finding you a new sister. Finding you a new sister. Imagine, that sister that you long lost, that you'll love so much. That's a strategy, right? What do you rate that?
I'm giving you a new sister.
Yeah.
Next. It's bad. Next one.
Okay,
No,
fine.
I'm gonna actually try to read these. I'm not gonna just say everything is F. I'm actually gonna try to, and I haven't, just so you guys know, I actually haven't heard these. So Daniel came up with these, I don't know, 5 or 10. I don't know how many he came up with, but I haven't heard these. So
Yeah.
we'll
So
find
these
out
are
together.
gonna be your honest reaction to these, okay?
Okay.
So okay, so let me pull these up. All right, so the sister one, that was just off the top of my head. That's the way I roll. Like I just come up with these things like it's
On the
just always
spot.
working, you know? It's a machine here.
You did go to Harvard. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's hard.
I'm also known for being so amazing explaining things to women.
Yes.
That's why I'm not known as a misogynist or a woman hater. It's
That
because
is
of
sharp.
how skilled I am at explaining things to women. Okay, so here's one strategy. You want to convince your first wife to accept a second wife. Okay. How about we don't refer to this second wife as, oh, my other wife, or oh, a potential second wife. Instead, use the phrase our wife, our second wife.
You know,
Because you know how they say our pregnancy, like it's not my wife, it's not that my wife is pregnant, we're
it's like
pregnant.
we're pregnant, not my wife is, yeah, we're getting married a second time.
We're having my wife is having the baby, we're having a baby, we're pregnant, we're getting a second wife, our second wife. Like that makes it more inclusive, right?
It's not the worst. It's not good. It's not good. It's not gonna work probably. Maybe give it a D. Low
D
D.
tier. I thought that
D minus.
I thought that's at least A tier in my opinion. Because women are all about inclusivity. So I thought it's gonna play right into that. So okay, fine. D. It's gonna be pretty harsh. I
Yeah.
think this is a pretty harsh rating. Oh my god. Okay,
We're
fine.
finding
That
out the
was
harsh reality. It's a wake up call. Next.
okay. Here's another this tip. This one is really topical and it's very relevant for those who are into geopolitics. Okay. So you know how you have a lot of the simp imams and the compassion imams who explain polygyny, why the Sahaba or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had multiple wives. They say, oh, it's because of war.
The
There's
widows.
war and there's just so many widows, so many women who don't have any husband. So the men have to come and marry second or third or fourth, just for the sake of protecting these poor widows. So, given that explanation, we can say that, look, guys, we're on the brink of World War III. We're actually on the brink of World War III. And at any day now, it's going to pop off in the Middle East, Russia, China, the United States. So, we need to get ahead of the curve. Like, we need to start getting prepared to take in these widows now, not tomorrow. It'll be too late. Now we have to start laying the groundwork, right? Okay, right?
Before she becomes a widow, you're gonna marry her before she becomes a widow. What kind of flip is this?
Well, I mean, it's called tying your camel. It's called like getting prepared, getting ahead
Oh,
of the
thinking
curve,
ahead. Yeah, thinking ahead.
thinking
Okay.
ahead. So what do you rate that? I think it makes a lot of sense, actually.
Well, just for the political aspect, you're lucky I'm into politics. Maybe that's a B.
B tier, nice, excellent. You heard it here, guys. That's a B tier strategy. Use it. Use it. You don't even need to give me credit. You don't need to credit me. This is yours. This is the sadaqah that we're just giving on Muslim Skeptic, and B tier strategies here. Okay. So I say Ryan says this is doomer tier. World War III. We're getting ready for a nuclear apocalypse.
Armageddon.
Yeah. So that's how committed you got to be. You got like, even when the world is ending and there's like nuclear war about to pop off, you have your priorities straight. Thinking about the sister wife, the second wife coming in. Okay, so let's get to the third strategy. Yeah, this one is a little bit more theological. And basically, we know that there's going to be polygyny in Jannah, right? So let's get a head start. Like let's get used to that. Let's get Let's why wait?
This is the dress rehearsal.
Yeah, well, that's a suggestion.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
what do you think? What do you rate that?
Yeah, like a B plus.
B plus. Okay, we're actually
You're
moving up. It's
yeah,
rating higher and higher.
we're
Yeah,
just getting
so
more and
that's
more lenient.
more better grading. Okay, here's another strategy that the brothers can use. Okay, so we know that when it comes to masjid fundraising, for those who have been involved in masjid fundraising, that if it's a particularly good fundraiser, the imam will go in front of the jama'ah in the masjid to raise money for building a new gym for the masjid or raising money for some whatever cause, and then he'll give you so many reminders of the importance of sadaqah, so many reminders of the great sahaba like Umar radiallahu anhu or Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, who they gave either all of their wealth or half their wealth, or like these amazing aspects of charity. Well, in the same way, think of your husband like you're giving him as sadaqah to another sister, a Muslim sister in need. So are you going to be selfish? Are you going to hoard that wealth, that amazing wealth that Allah has given you in your husband? Are you going to hoard it? Or are you
Yes.
going to share? Are you going to actually give sadaqah fi sabilillah? So this is on you. This is on you for hoarding your husband and not sharing the wealth.
Can I give her money instead?
Give her money. The best kind of sadaqah, you have to give from the best of what you have. So am I not? Isn't your husband the best possession that you have?
Okay. Well, but seeing as the first wife can poke a little bit of holes in that argument, I'll give it like a C.
See,
Yeah.
what are
Especially
you
if you
saying?
ask her.
What are
Especially
you
if you
saying?
ask. Am I not the best of what you have?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
Not
fine. This
me.
is
I would never say that. I'm just saying a wife, not me, obviously. You are, of course, Yani. mashallah. But I'm just saying any other wife, her answer might be uncertain. We'll give that one a C. It's not bad. It's not the best, it's not the worst. It's a C.
this sister says, I want to hear
Aw.
Khalid on how we can convince our husbands to take another wife. My husband won't hear of it. Yeah. See,
Mashallah.
it's kind of the same situation as we're in, right? You're trying to convince me.
Then you won't hear of it, and it's just trying to figure out
Yeah.
ways.
You have to find a way to
Well,
convince
I'll
us.
get to that. I'll get to that part, inshallah, later on. So,
Okay.
and I
on
thought
that.
of
Yeah.
it myself, not you. So you're stealing my thunder about the perks of polygyny for the first, like from the perspective of first wife. So that kind of addresses your comment, sister.
Yeah. We're gonna address this, inshallah. Like this is just lighthearted to start off the topic, but we're gonna get more serious. Like we're gonna get into very serious suggestions. Okay, here's another. This is the fourth or fifth. Okay, just two more.
Okay.
Okay, this is the one that I think this deserves S tier. Okay, that's my anticipation of what you'll say.
Okay.
So here, I'm gonna convince you. Look, me getting a second wife, it's your fault. Actually, it's your fault. Why? Because you just make marriage look so good. You make marriage look so good, and I just can't get enough. I can't get enough of marriage.
S tier. S tier. Definitely. Love
That's
it.
S tier, right?
Use that one. Yep. You make marriage so enjoyable. You make it so easy, so effortless. You gotta keep going. Okay. Yeah.
Brother Ridwan says a checkmate. Yeah, I think that's a good.
Honestly, how did you come up with that one? That's crazy.
So I think that's S tier. We can end it on that one.
And then on a
That's
high
the
note.
best.
No,
That's
that
the
one was
best one.
legitimately not that bad. That was actually like it's like a compliment. It's like a punch wrapped in a beautiful compliment.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So that was the icebreaker, just something lighthearted. But the whole point is that I mean, if something is taboo, if something is like such a serious thing, even marriage itself, like then it becomes scarier, or it becomes
Mhm.
like something that like it becomes a disaster. And this is the way that people are talking about polygyny, and I don't think that's really the right tone. I don't think that's the way that we should address this topic. So I think sometimes there is a place for humor to kind of break the ice. So we want to get into the rest of the program, inshallah. You're submitting super chats. We're gonna read them. I'm gonna periodically look through the comments in the chat. So be active. And we played a trailer for Marriage School, which is a retreat that we're doing in Turkey, inshallah, in April. Go ahead, and if you want marriage school training on being a husband, being a wife in the traditional model, Islamic model of marriage, this is going to be co-taught with myself and my wife, Khaled, and we're going to be in Turkey 4 days and really nice accommodations. Go ahead and sign up. We have a lot of people who are coming, inshallah. And this is something that you can go to the website. And now we're actually offering, because there's been so much demand for this, that we're offering a remote option. So if you can't actually travel to Turkey for the retreat, we are offering a remote option. People can view the material remotely, and you can get access to that. You can purchase access to that. Brothers for brothers, sisters for sisters. You can see all the details on the website. So go ahead and check that out. Global Ummah Retreats. The link is in the description below. And this is a new option, so that is now being made available by the organizers, because there is really high demand for people who want marriage school, but they can't necessarily attend for whatever reason. But the best option, if you want full access, the remote access is not full access. Full access, you have to come and see us. You have to come to Turkey. So go ahead and sign up for that, inshallah. Okay. So let's go to your notes, Khaled. You want to start with your notes, or do we want to talk about my analysis, or which one do you prefer?
Well, I just made some notes, like jotted down a couple thoughts I had before we started, just so I don't forget what I want to say. But I'm not sure. I don't know what to start first, or maybe you go ahead and either
Okay,
if you
sure.
wanna.
Well, we can start with some stories. Some stories of polygyny actually working out. And I know you have a few,
Mhm.
and I think it'll be good from the sister's perspective to give the stories of it working out well. And then I'll, from the man's perspective, give situations where it doesn't work out, the problem. So maybe let's start with a positive. And
Mhm.
Khaled, you can give us, a couple of these stories. These are real examples that you've seen that have worked out, and I guess they're Western based.
Yes.
So go ahead and explain.
So yes, there are a few stories that I've heard. These are not even, it's not an exhaustive list, but these are the biggest examples I've actually seen in my life with real people that I know. So I'm going to make them anonymous. We're not going to include names. But basically, the first story that I heard of, I was in college and I wasn't married, but a friend of mine, her older sister was married, and she had 5 children, mashallah. And she was a convert. Her husband was also a convert. They were black converts, African Americans, and they converted to Islam like in high school, I think, both of them. And then they got married pretty young, and they had 5 children, mashallah. But the problem was the wife was working. She was working at an Islamic school that I think she actually had founded, so she was very busy with it, teaching children and her own children, her own 5 children, mashallah. So she was just very busy. And at night, her husband, he was working also, but like she was like, I just don't have time for him. I don't have the energy, the attention, the focus to at like 9 or 10 or 11 p.m. to be like, oh, okay, now let's hang out, husband, wife time, let's hang out together. And like, she's like, I'm done by 8 p.m. or even earlier. I just want to hit the sack. I want to be in bed and I'm tired. But she kind of felt, this is kind of not the nicest way to put it, but I remember she said something like, I felt like instead of having 5 children and a husband, he was like my 6th child. And that's, I think it speaks to her exhaustion. She was just fatigued and tired all day doing what she was doing, running around with the kids. And then she was like, "Ugh, I don't want one more thing that I got to do at night or at the end of a long day when I just want to rest." So, but she didn't want to divorce her husband because he was a good man. She genuinely loved him. She didn't want to divorce him, but she was like, I don't feel like I'm meeting his needs. I feel like I'm too busy for him. And, he's probably like needs some attention. Anyway, long story short, she herself goes out and in her friend circle and acquaintances, she starts asking around, is there a single sister? Anybody know of a single sister who wants to get married? She can marry my husband. She can be my co-wife, please. You would be doing me a favor. So she asked around and alhamdulillah, she found someone and she married and she had to convince her husband. So the sister, so I got you, the sister in the chat earlier who was like, oh, how do I convince my husband? So she had to convince her husband, the father of 5, father of her children, to marry the sister that she found for him. She was like, oh, she's great. You'll love her. She's so nice. I love her. She's going to be a great addition to the family. Just, she and I will split you. So you'll live with me part-time. And they lived on the same street. They lived on the same block, like a few houses down from one another. And it worked out so well. And the 2 women were besties. The husband liked both, and he really and then it was so nice because the first wife could focus on her passion project, was basically this small Islamic tool that she had founded in the town where they lived at that point. And so the second wife, was watching her children and helping with bedtime and doing this and doing that while she was working or just trying to rest or get a break. And she also helped with the husband, who has his own rights that fall upon the wife and his own things that he needs. So she was helping with her husband, her children, without the wife feeling like, oh, I feel guilty, I'm neglecting my husband, I feel guilty, I'm falling short. So she got rid of that feeling by getting a second wife. That was her idea. So anyway, so that was, needless to say, at that point I was 18 or 19 and it blew my mind. I was like, what? She's looking for a second wife for her husband? Like, what universe is this? I'd never heard of this before, but it worked out. It was beautiful. So that's one. And I'll never forget that because it really struck me. I didn't know that such a thing was possible because of the way that we are conditioned and the things that we hear. Oh, polygyny. Oh, the trauma. Oh, the scandal. Oh, the pain, not to dismiss any of that. I don't want to act dismissive, towards, because those things are absolutely real and they can happen and you can feel those. And I don't want to be dismissive, but it didn't work out that way for her. And for some women, it really doesn't involve any trauma or any pain. And it's actually a solution to problems that they face. Okay, so that's story number 1. Story number 2 is a little bit similar.
Before we get to your story, the second story, Sister Milahan is in the comment section. She says, may Allah bless Daniel with multiple pious wives. And bless Khalid and her children. Ameen.
Ameen. Thank you, Sister.
Oh, you said Ameen.
I'm saying Ameen to a part of that dua. I'm not gonna say which part. She made a few different duas. Thank you, Sister Milahan. I understand. And Ameen wa iyyakum. No, I'm joking. Anyways,
she's a good sister, mashallah. Her channel is on YouTube, so you can check out Sister Milahan.
Mashallah. Yeah, she does some great work, YouTube. Actually, mashallah.
Her Philosopher's Corner. Okay, so go ahead now with the second story.
Okay, so second story is basically, they were also, I don't know if this has anything to do with this or not. It could be a total coincidence, but also another Black convert family. So basically the man and the wife, the husband and wife, they knew each other. They were actually dating in high school because before they were Muslim. So they were dating, boyfriend, girlfriend, all through high school. And then they got married right into college. And then they were together for 15, 16 years, just monogamously married. They had a few children. I don't know how many, 4 or 5 or 6, a good number of children, mashallah. And then one time, this is not the wife's idea. Now, in this case, it's the husband. He actually married a divorced sister, also a Black sister, convert, and he married her in secret. This is the big thing, secret wives and all that. And then after the fact, came and told his first wife, by the way, I remarried. I have a second wife. So in her own words, the first wife freaked out. In her own words, she freaked out and she, no, we're not polymaxing here. Take that down. No, I'm joking. Okay, we said we're not going to joke. Okay. So anyway, so the wife freaks out, the first wife. She's like, how could you do this to me? And obviously she talks about this. She talks where like, and I get it. She talks about feeling betrayed, especially in a situation where she wasn't aware, like the husband didn't tell her before, he just told her after. So she was like obviously feeling certain feelings of pain and betrayal and confusion and just feelings of uncertainty. And then after a while, and then the community found out. Obviously, it became like news where they lived in their neighborhood. And she had all these friends and acquaintances and people she knew saying, girl, leave him. Girl, he doesn't deserve you. He cheated on you. This is a homewrecker. This is a side chick. And just leave him. Why are you still here? Just divorce him. You know, but she was worried why she was vacillating. Obviously, she was like incredibly hurt inside, but she didn't want to immediately leave because she had 5 or 6 kids with him. So she was like, oh, what about the kids? I don't want to destabilize their life. I just have to think right now. Then I'll never forget this. She said, there was an older sister who was she was like a mentor to me. She was like a mother figure. And she came along and she said, after all these acquaintances said, oh, leave him, girl, he's worthless, just leave. She had this lady come and tell her, look, you had him all to yourself for 15 or 16 years. Don't be selfish. He loves you, but he wants a change, or he's ready for whatever reason. He's ready for a change. So don't let the 15 years all basically be in vain. And don't be selfish where you want him to all to yourself forever and ever and ever. You had 15 years with him. He was all yours. And now maybe it's time to share. It's just a new chapter. And don't look at it like, oh, this is the end of our marriage. This is the end of my life. It doesn't have to be. And I remember that really like helped her, that she would listen to that one sister, mashallah, one pious, righteous Muslim sister who like calmed her down, kind of brought her back to reality. And she disregarded the opinions of other people who are like, oh, divorce, divorce, divorce. She didn't get divorced. And then what was crazy was they became friends. Initially, they tried to keep everything separate. So the first wife was like, look, okay, you married a second wife. Okay, there's nothing I can do, but, and I'm not going to leave. I don't want to ask for a divorce because we can make it work, but I don't want to see her. I don't want to know about her. I know about her, but I don't want to have to like engage with her. But it was, when you think of the nitty gritty and like the small details, then it begins to be a little bit more complicated. Look, for Ramadan, where's the father going to be, or the husband, which house with which wife? And for Eid, like Eid al-Fitr or Eid al-Adha, like how are we going to spend Eid together? So they would see each other at the masjid. Like the first wife would get him for Eid al-Fitr, the second wife would get him for Eid al-Adha, but like the kids would be like, yay, blah blah, like like during Salat al-Eid or something at the masjid. So they were like, look, this is silly. Let's just like make it one big happy family. We're all gonna meet for all the Eids and all the occasions. And they don't live together now. They live in 2 separate houses, but also very close to one another, same street or same neighborhood or something. And they watch the kids together. Now the 2 wives are best friends, and they just help each other out. They're like sisters. Like it's like they're sister wives, but they act like actual sisters. And but there's no beef. Like there's no, like, now they love each other. The first wife loves the second wife. The second wife was very vulnerable. And she said, look, I know how you must feel. And I'm sorry. I don't want you to think of me as this like evil homewrecker. I'm not. I genuinely love him. And I know that you genuinely love him. Like there's a lot of talking, and, women bond like through like raw emotion and being vulnerable together to each other. And, they hugged it out and it was fine. Like they're still friends, so, but it started out a little bit rough because the first wife found out in a certain way that really shocked her. So that's the second story I know of.
Yeah, that's a good story. It's inspiring, no?
Inspiring. Okay, that's one word for it. Let's not get it twisted. These are all stories. I could be making all this up for all you know.
No, we already said that this is real.
These are actually real stories. But the other story is kind of like it's more neutral. It's not as, oh yay, happy ending as these 2 that I mentioned. There's one that before we had kids, I had a friend. I was married at that point. After college, I was married, didn't have kids, and I had a friend who's a very good friend. She was a white convert, and she married a Libyan brother from Libya. So he obviously was not a convert. He was like a born Muslim, and they got married. He was not a practicing Muslim initially. He was like going to clubs. They met at a club, okay? But alhamdulillah, you know how there's so many stories of a girlfriend of a Muslim, like a non-practicing, more like secular Muslim, will actually convert to Islam through the boyfriend. So anyway, so that's kind of what happened. She converted to Islam after meeting her boyfriend, who himself became more serious about Islam later. Anyway, they got married. Long story short, after a few years, they wanted to have children. They couldn't. She found out that she was infertile. So he went back to Libya and married a second wife, but with her blessing, because she was like, look, I know you want to have children and I can't have children and I don't want you to be deprived. And they had like a lot of hard conversation, and he was like, look, I really want to be a dad. Like, I know I've always wanted to be a father, and I'm sorry, and I feel sad, and like really, like I feel grief, like that I can't have children with you because I love you. But I like, if you can't have children, then maybe I could divorce you. And she was like, no, don't divorce me. You can get a second wife who can, inshallah, you have children with, but like, keep me on as your wife. I don't want to leave you. I don't want you to leave me. So that one is not as exciting as the others, but it was for infertility and having children and stuff like that. That was part of the reason. So, but it worked out. They're all still married.
Yeah, so I think it's good to have examples of people where it does work out and they are able to make it work, and there are benefits that they get from it. And I think you're going to talk more about the specific benefits that you have thought of and you've outlined. And inshallah, that's important. Now I'm gonna give the other side of it. I'm gonna talk about, like, okay, when does this go wrong, and when is it that women actually have a case? They have a case against the man, and the problem, I would argue that a lot of the demand for a second wife or even more, this is an artificial demand that's been generated because we're in a world and in societies that mixing has become so common, like men and women mixing, and just women being everywhere, and it's women that are outside of your own group, like your own immediate environment. Like, it's much more common because of globalism. Like, women from the other side of the world are now in your city, women who are, or you, or online or wherever. And that kind of exposure, like men, it generates like curiosity, it generates like this kind of increased desire, and that's bad. Like, that's bad because the men aren't controlling themselves. They're not lowering their gaze, or they're getting into mixed environments, and so they're creating, like, it's a hyper demand that's being created. I'm muting your mic, by the way, Khalid, because I just don't want to hear a squeak. So that is a problem. That is the fault of men. Okay, so having this kind of extra hyper demand. I'm not saying that desiring second or third or fourth wives, I'm not trying to say that that's unnatural or that's something artificial that's been created. No, that exists, but to the hyper extent that we see today, maybe that is artificial. Like, maybe there are other factors that are contributing to that in the environment, and that does, like, fall on men. Like, that is the responsibility of men, and maybe men aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing Islamically. So that's one point. The other problem that we have from men is that they have created a standard of equality because of liberalism that affects women. And we have a lot of simp men. They're simps, and we can see that even some of them are on our chat right now. And they're simps, and they are constantly putting women on a pedestal of equality as partners. And men are responsible for allowing feminism to take root and to spread, and this idea of marriage being an equal partnership and men not having authority. Like, we had a few streams ago talking about imams, the compassionate imams, who say that no, الرجال قوامون على النساء in Surah An-Nisa in the Quran, that doesn't mean authority. Men don't have authority over their wives. Like, they're constantly, it's men who are constantly diminishing the authority of the husband and proposing or promulgating this equality notion, partnership notion of marriage. And that's going to, if women are going into marriages, or they're growing up with the idea that, oh, marriage is a partnership, equal partnership, then the idea of polygyny obviously is going to disturb them, and it's going to seem like a betrayal and a moral violation, obviously. So if men, like, if if it's men who are actually promoting this kind of equality marriage, or they're downplaying the authority of a husband Islamically in traditional marriage, then they take some of the blame for the kind of backlash that they'll experience with the idea of polygyny. And it affects people at a psychological level as well, because when you promote a liberal standard of morality, a liberal standard of morality really will prioritize fairness and equality above all else. And I've explained this many times, but there's a recent video where I'm talking about the atheist challenge, where they talk about hellfire. Why are we punished eternally for finite sins? Blah blah blah. I explain the kind of moral foundation, moral psychology, or the moral foundations within our psychology. You can go check out that video. But part of that is that the liberal environment in the West and elsewhere, it elevates a sense of fairness and equality as being the ultimate arbiter of moral truth, the ultimate arbiter of morality. And authority, the authority foundation of morality, that's almost completely destroyed, because authority goes counter to equality. An authority is someone who is above you, someone who is not, is not equal to you, and is not going to. It has certain privileges that you don't have. Like has certain privileges, has certain rights that you don't have. Like that is authority, and that is a part. Authority is a part of human morality, and that has been diminished or destroyed by liberalism. And when you do that, then the idea of your husband having a second wife, and guess what? He can do that because he's the authority. That's going to be something that is foreign to literally your psychology. That's something that's going to not only be foreign to it, it's going to be abrasive. It's going to be disturbing. It's going to be traumatizing. It's going to be something that you reject as immoral. Even if you pay the lip service of, oh, but it's halal, like, oh, well, I guess the Prophet ﷺ did, so it's okay. Like, even if, because you see some of these feminists that are wearing hijab, they're hijabi feminists or they're niqabi feminists, they pay the lip service to polygyny, but they don't actually feel it. They don't feel like, okay, they and the thing is that it's always going to be the case that a woman will not like to share her husband. Like that's natural. And this is something that we see even from Ummahat al-Mu'minin, even the mothers of the believers, the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. They also clearly, they would have preferred that they were just, some of them, that they were just had the Prophet ﷺ all to themselves. So it's never going to be the case that women will be happy. Okay. Like that's something that is not natural. Okay, women have this kind of jealousy, but the level that we see today, where it's not just like, oh, this is something I don't like, and but whatever, life moves on, and this is the situation now. It's like a disaster, like it's a traumatic disaster. It destroys my life. I'm suicidal now because my husband has a second wife. I'm going to, unalive myself. Like that level of mental breakdown and the pits of depression that we see, that I don't think is natural. That I don't think is something that we see historically. And I think that's because, again, the psychology of people has been altered by liberalism and industrialization and everything else. So those are the problems that I see on the men's side. Another big problem from the men's side is that and this is partly the fault of women as well, is that some men just go about it in such a stupid way. Like they actually, well, maybe before going to that one, let me give your thoughts on what I just said on these other points.
No, I totally see what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense. And also the first point you made about the just like online stuff, and you can be able to see women from basically different ethnicities, different countries, different races, and it creates this hyper desire or hyper focus on like variety. Basically, it creates this but men, I feel like biologically speaking, most men, the average man, is interested in or is attracted to the idea of variety. So like the quantity of women. And for women, there's a similar problem where women are interested in quality. So they want a husband of the best quality that they could possibly get. And then you get monkey branching, right? And it's also this hyper focus on like, I want the best husband possible, the tallest, most good looking, most handsome, most high status, richest, most powerful man that I can get. And in the past, it used to be just in my village, like in the tiny local village, the best local boy that I can get, that's the boy I want to marry, or the man that I want to be my husband. But now, because of the internet and because of like just online stuff or TV, then it's women are also, we have like a similar, or we have our the counterpart to the men thing. But for men, it's like, oh, and I want an Asian woman, I want an Asian wife, or a white wife, or a black wife, or a whatever, Indian wife, or a, you know, whatever it is. But it's the quantity is increased, and it's amplified and almost exaggerated because of technology. And for women, we have a similar thing, but instead of the quantity of husbands, we want quality in husbands. And then you have women leaving their husbands. He's like a good man, a righteous man with taqwa. But if the wife does not have taqwa, she'll just monkey branch to the next one if she perceives him to be higher status or whatever. So anyway, I made a mental note of that when you were speaking, but I guess it's not exactly on topic. But I agree. And another thing, Daniel, that I think is relevant also about, like, because you're describing the atmosphere that we're living in, right? Like, we're just surrounded by liberalism. We're surrounded by this, like, where we live in a time and place where it's like, it breaks you, right? Like, if you let it, and that's a big if you allow it to, it will break you, because it's like trauma. It really is perceived as trauma. Oh my God, my husband is marrying a second wife, or has married a second wife, or a third or a fourth, whatever. Like, my life is over. I'm done. The marriage, I'm obviously leaving him. The marriage is obviously collapsed, but my life in general, as I know it, has ended. It's just like these very big statements and sweeping claims, because, and I don't think people are saying it like for attention. I think it really does break some of them because of the culture that we live in. But one thing that's really cool is, one thing that
You get distracted.
I don't want to
get the comments. You keep getting distracted.
I know. I can't read the comments like right now, except the ones that you put up. So you're distracting me. But anyway, no, you can keep putting them.
They're calling you unbelievably based. Lord Meislin is saying you're unbelievably based that you know about monkey branching.
Well, it's a reality. Honestly, it really is a reality. Not for every woman. MashaAllah, there's a lot of good women out there who will never do that because they have too much taqwa of Allah. They fear Allah too much. But, you know, not every person, man or woman, is going to be principled. So, you know, unfortunately, it's a sad reality. But I was going to say one cool thing that I don't know if any of you guys watching have ever seen this or heard of this, but this is a non-Muslim show. It's a reality TV show that was on some years ago, and it was called Sister Wives. And I remember hearing about this, and I was like interested, or like following some of the news about it like a few years ago. So I don't remember all the details now. You guys can correct me in the chat if I get details wrong. But basically, Daniel, I don't think you know much about it, but Sister Wives is a Mormon show, and it's basically following the lives of this family of Mormons. The husband, I forgot his name. I think I used to know his name. I forgot his name, Derek or Eric or something, whatever. But he's this Mormon. They live in Utah, and they live in a Mormon community where polygyny is completely normal, and it's completely accepted, and it's socially not taboo. So it's like the thing. It's like a normal thing. But he has 3 wives, the husband. He has the first wife, Mary, and the second wife, I think her name was Christine or Christy, and the third one, Janelle. And it was so interesting as a Muslim wife or Muslim woman to kind of look in on that world. And it really made me think, subhanAllah, like the way that they were talking, the way the wives would talk with each other and joke, and they were really besties. They were friends until something happens. He acquires a 4th wife, and that 4th wife kind of creates problems. And there's a lot of issues that happen. And I think in the end, I don't know what happened in the end, but I think the marriage broke down, or some of the wives left or something. But initially, if we forget that 4th wife, because before she comes on, things were actually really awesome. But it's really cool because the wives are friends. They were genuinely friends. So the husband and the first wife, Mary, they got married. I don't know, when they were young, I think. And then because they're Mormons and they marry young, they don't fornicate, they don't sleep around or date before marriage. And then I think it was her idea or something, or she like poked and prodded at him. Don't you want to get married to a second wife? And he got married to a second wife, and it was fine. Mary was not upset. She liked her, and they were friends. And then he married a third wife. I don't know how. I think also at the suggestion of the first wife or something like that, or she introduced them. And then I remember just some of the comments they would make. I'm going to share with you some of the comments that I remember, because again, it normalizes it. And I think part of what we're hoping to do here today is to just not to normalize it for every single person and every single married couple. Say, go out and find yourself a second or third or fourth wife, but just to where, like you said, Daniel, where it's not a taboo, or we're not like, like clutching our pearls and like, oh, I'm just so shocked. Like, I can't wrap my mind around it. Like, no, for some people it's totally normal. Anyway, but some of the quotes that I really liked from that show was the third wife was saying, as a little girl, I always knew I wanted to join, like I wanted to marry a married man and join a family that was already formed. To me, that was always more appealing than marrying a man who was single and this is his first marriage. So one of these women was saying that already. She was like, as a little girl, that's how I felt. And again, it has to do with your psychology, Daniel, as you were saying, and it has to do with the kind of culture that you grow up in and what you grow up hearing and just knowing, and being exposed to. So they were exposed to this from childhood, so it wasn't weird to them. So she was like, the second wife, I never wanted to be a second wife, because the second wife is called the wedge. And she's like the wedge, the first wedge that kind of wedges herself between husband and wife. And she's like, I didn't want to be in that position. I felt like that would be hard, but I always wanted to be a third wife. Third would be better. So she became the third wife for real in that marriage. So that was cool. I was like, wow, you thought about it to that degree where you decided which position, which number wife you wanted to be as a child. And in reality, that's what she became, a third wife. And, and then they were joking, the three wives, number 1, 2, and 3 were joking that the first wife, Mary, was the head of mergers and acquisitions, because she's often the like, it's a company, like they were joking about it, like, and talking like it's a family business or like a corporation or whatever, where the husband is a CEO and then all these wives are like the VPs. So
here's one comment from our friend Brad. He says that in that show, Sister Wives, they make the women innocent little angels and the man is the devil. Is that true? Like, is that how they portray him?
He kind of was. I again, I didn't watch everything. I watched like snippets of the show. So maybe Brad, maybe you're right. I don't know, but I remember what I ended up seeing of it. The man was kind of portrayed more as a goofy, kind of happy-go-lucky, kind of like not a Homer Simpson type, but just like that, like kind of bumbling, like lovable goof. Kind of, but the wives were what struck me, again, as a Muslim woman who knows about polygyny, but was not raised necessarily or at all in an environment where anything was okay with like polygyny and all this. What struck me was how natural it felt to them and how carefree the wives were acting and how lovely they were to each other and how kind and friendly they seemed like genuine friends. Like, if you didn't know this was a show called Sister Wives, you would just think that these are three besties just sitting around talking, like they're sitting in their living room. And I think they lived in a big shared house too. At a certain point, they had, I think they in the past had like each wife lived in a different house and he would go between the houses. But in the end, they were like, no, this doesn't work. Let's just make it one big happy family. So they had like a bigger house. I don't think they were very rich or anything. I don't know. But they lived where she lived in this wing. She lived in the basement with her children. She lived in the upstairs and she lived in this area. And then they had this common area, like, living room or whatever. So they would talk and sit on the couch and chat and joke and laugh with each other. Like, they weren't sharing a husband. Like, they were just like three best friends who lived together. So imagine the fun of that. Like, sisters listening, do you know what I mean? I feel like not you, Daniel, sisters in the chat. No, really, it was just a shock for me. I was younger. This is a few years ago. So it was like a cultural shock for me. And it made me think, it made me pause, like, wait, I am the Muslim. These women aren't Muslims and they're teaching me about Islamic polygyny. Not that theirs was necessarily like strictly Islamic polygyny, but they share the husband. The women don't have multiple husbands. They have the same husband. The husband has multiple wives. So it shares some similarity with the Islamic conception of polygyny. And it really, wallahi, it struck me as so funny or so unusual that non-Muslim women living their life and living by their like religious dictates or whatever, or kind of showing me as like a modern Muslim woman, how it could be, what it could look like to have sister wives. And they're not trying to kill each other. They don't hate each other. They're not fighting. They're not scheming and plotting. They're just laughing. They're joking jokes the entire time. It's like having your best friends, but they all live with you. And then they're helping you raise your kids. So it was just like a chill time. I was shocked. Anyway.
Here's a comment that's funny. Daniel, no offense, but you're not alpha enough to get another wife. And she knows this. Khalid knows this, which is why she doesn't mind the hypothetical of you getting another wife. I'm
Well,
taking strays. I'm taking strays in the chat.
you're catching a lot of strays, Daniel. And I would agree that Daniel is not alpha. Daniel is sigma. So,
Oh, I'm
just,
Sigma. Yeah, that's true.
just let it be known.
Okay, well, that's interesting show, and I was showing some of the comments that people are making in the chat, but there was actually another. Someone was saying that we have our friendly neighborhood Wahhabi,
Yeah.
Ahmad, who's saying, Daniel, you should marry a Wahhabiya.
I said that. Didn't I tell you that the other day? Or what if she, hear me out, was a shirk apologist? Wouldn't that be right?
Yeah, she's gonna be a Wahhabiya, and then after marrying me, she's gonna become a shirk apologist.
Hey, stranger things have happened. That would be a real
That's
feat.
not good for the Wahhabis. The Wahhabis are losing numbers fast. Like
They're losing numbers.
they need to keep the women.
Lock up the Wahhabiyat.
Yeah, lock them up.
And anyway, who would convince her? Who would change her mind, me or you? Like, I'm the real, like, behind the scenes.
Yeah, you're the mastermind behind all the shirk apology.
You're just the face of the operation, Daniel. People don't know that.
Yeah.
We use you for your looks,
We're in bad shape. Okay, so moving on. Like, other problems, like with men, a lot of men, they just focus on, can I do it, rather than should I do it? And that's critical. Like, that's very critical, because just because you can do something, that doesn't mean you should do something. It's not even, like, Islamically speaking, like, just because something is halal for you to do, that doesn't mean that you should actually go and pursue it. And a lot of men, let's be really honest, like, this is a criticism that sisters make, and I hate to admit it, but some of them, they have a point, that some of the brothers are just immature. Like, they are immature, or they don't have their act together. They're not really on the ball when it comes to managing the responsibilities of one wife and children. They're not on top of it. They're not really being the best providers. Okay. And, like, objectively speaking, not just because a wife is entitled and nothing is ever good enough. Like, no, objectively, she doesn't necessarily, she just has regular expectations and standards, and he's not even objectively meeting those standards. So I think that's a legitimate complaint. So if you can't even properly manage one household, one wife and children, how the heck are you going to go after number two? Like, this is completely bonkers, and it's irresponsible, and you can't just use the halal card and say that, well, it's halal, so I'm going to do it. No, you have a responsibility that you're not meeting, or you're just, like, barely passing, like, you're barely managing, and getting a second wife is actually going to cause harm to your first wife and to your children, and that harm has to be taken into account. Like, you will be accountable for that. So just because you're doing something halal, that doesn't mean that the consequences of that you're exonerated from, or that you don't have liability there, in terms of harm that could potentially come to your children, harm that could come to your first wife. So that's, I think, a lack of maturity. And then, even in the case where a man does have everything down, he does have, like, he's on the ball, he has his responsibilities covered, but he just doesn't really think through the complexity, the challenge of, okay, you're introducing another person into the situation. How is that going to affect things? How is that going to change the game, change the equation, and have these other effects? Like, yeah, your wife is, like, even if she's very open-minded, nonetheless, it's going to change the dynamic of your marriage. It's going to change the dynamic of your relationship with your wife. And have you accounted for that? Like, is that something worth it at the end of the day? And I feel that some brothers, they don't even extend to that level of consideration. And I think that is a lack of maturity. Like, they're not thinking things with their heads. They're thinking with something else, with another body part, and they're not actually working out the implications. So I think that is a big problem. And then to go about it secretly. So there's a lot of talk about secret marriage. Is it halal? Is it haram? Like, what are the requirements? What are the conditions to marry without the permission of your first wife? I think that's beyond dispute. Like, Islamically, yes, you can, as a husband, get married. You don't need to have permission from your first wife. Okay, there's no such thing as getting permission from your first wife. So let's be clear on that. But the question of, okay, secretly, like getting a second wife, that's a different situation. And I'm not saying that that is therefore haram or that's something haram, but just going about it secretly, that introduces, even if let's just assume that's halal, that introduces so many potential problems and potential for disaster. And are you like anticipating that, like when things eventually, because eventually it's going to be found out, like eventually, like I haven't heard a case actually where the first wife didn't find out. Like, it's weird. I think the first wife, why women have like a spidey sense. They have like a secondary sense where they just know, like they just can tell. And so it's not gonna be a secret for long. Like, it might not be the first year, might not be the second, but eventually it's gonna be found out. And are you prepared for the consequences of that? Like, if you are truly on the ball, you truly are responsible, then why do you need to hide and slink about and pretend like you are a criminal who is trying to escape the police, like meaning your first wife? Like, why not just be very open, transparent, and communicate? And this is part of the responsibility of getting a second wife. I think like this is, I think it should go without saying. So the people who do engage in like this secretly going about, like, I understand them from one perspective. I understand that, okay, the situation has become so bad because of feminism. You know what really actually pisses me off? Okay, what really makes me angry is that some of these guys in public are simps. They're actually these liberal simps, and they will wag their finger at Daniel. Daniel is a misogynist, but these guys have second wives, or sometimes even more. Some of them have like 3 wives, 3 secret wives in different countries. And in public, these guys are simps. These guys are simps, but they secretly have 3 wives, and they're keeping it from the first wife. And yeah, it's just you don't even have the responsibility, the maturity to just be open about it. Like, just be open about it. And I get it. Like, it's you simps actually who have inflated women's entitlement. You're the one, because of your simping against me or against Red Pill or whatever. It's because of you that women have gotten this inflated sense of entitlement and equality and marriage as a partnership that then causes you to be secret about getting a second wife. If you hadn't gassed her up, if you hadn't gassed up that sense of equality with your simping, potentially your first wife wouldn't have had that much. It wouldn't have been a crisis to such an extent that you have to keep it a secret, like your second wife or your third or fourth, that you have to keep it a secret. So it's this is ironic, like it's almost worthy of a Greek play, like a Greek tragedy or Shakespearean. Like, his simping has caused the very crisis that he now suffers from. But yeah, this is a problem. I put it squarely on the shoulders of men who go about this in a completely irresponsible way, and they, arguably, they have the lion's share of the blame. So we can't just tell the sisters, yeah, if you have a problem with polygyny, that's because you don't love the sunnah. Yeah, that might be part of it. That might be part of it. But what has created that environment? Like, what has created these kind of bigger problems? I think we have to be balanced. What do you think about this, Khalid?
No, I agree. I do think that I think it's like a multi-layered thing, as most things in life are. Like, it's not just one layer, but it's actually like all these variables. Like you said, Daniel, a lot of the simps and the feminists in general, gassing women up and inflating their ego to an unrealistic level, and having the women all think each woman is a queen, and oh, I'm the prize. He's lucky to be with me. He's lucky to have me. And then if you turn around and say, okay, well, I want a second wife, then it's like, wait, I'm a queen though. What do you mean? Like, you're lucky to have me. Why are you bringing on another one? Like, I'm the prize, So as you said, that's one layer, and it's a huge one. It's a big layer. But I think I want to get into some things that I have some thoughts on other layers, I think, that are also at play. And these are more like internal for the woman. And I think any sisters who might be listening, this could resonate with you. So just kind of test yourself and your own internal, your own inner world against this. Maybe some of this has to do with your childhood, or maybe just the way that you were raised or how you grew up. But basically, I do think that some sisters, they operate from a place of fear a lot. And they have this, this might be kind of cliche, but I do think it applies here, but like a scarcity mindset, as opposed to this mindset of abundance, and which includes tawakkul, like as Muslims, this mindset where you come from a place of, alhamdulillah, like Allah is generous. Allah is Al-Kareem. Allah will provide for me. Allah is Al-Razzaq, So when we say scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset, I don't mean it in the cliche, stupid way that like modern psychologists or pop psychologists use it, but I do mean like from an Islamic perspective. But a lot of us women growing up today, modern women specifically, for many reasons that inshallah we can get into, they operate from this scarcity mindset where it's like a lack of tawakkul, when they kind of like are very brittle and they're very fragile internally, like psychologically, emotionally, and they just come from a place of fear at life in general. They operate in life, and that includes marriage, and that actually includes things like, that's why I have to go to school, because I don't trust my husband to not divorce me or die or abuse me or marry a second wife or get a secret wife or whatever. So I'm just, in general, I go about my life in a state of fear. That's why I need to be a PhD. In case he turns out to be a bum, I won't starve, I won't be homeless on the street, things like this, so it's just this place of fear. And with polygyny, it's the same thing. It's the same fear operating and having this huge like death grip on us women. And so the fear is, there's not going to be enough money for me and any other wives. We barely have enough money as it is. Like, he's barely covering my needs and my wants or my luxuries, whatever, but whatever your situation is. But second wife, we're going to cut all that in half. There's not enough. It's not enough to go around. There's not enough of him to go around. My husband, he's already busy. He works. I barely see him. How in the world am I going to cut that short time that we already have together in half, because he's going to split it between me and another woman? Like, there's not enough time to go around. There's not enough money. There's not enough love from my husband to go around. How is he going to love me and another woman, or another 2 women or 3 women? So you see what I mean? Like the scarcity mindset. Everything is scarce. Love is a scarce resource. Money is a scarce resource. Time and attention, it's all scarce resources. So I can't think about polygyny except by freaking out. The only reaction I can ever have, the only psychological trigger that's gonna like prompt in me is a total freak out. I'm just gonna have a meltdown, because I operate from a place of fear. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's something I've noticed. And I think the solution is, I can't give you like a full solution just off the top of my head, but I think it lies in tawakkul, and it lies in having a lot of just reliance on Allah, and knowing that Allah can put barakah in what seems like a small thing. And Allah can put barakah, and Allah can basically put blessing in it and expand it to a degree that is unexpected, to a degree that you wouldn't anticipate normally with like the normal life things, like it's not like 1 + 1 = 2. Allah can add barakah, Allah can multiply, that's the whole idea of barakah, is just things become multiplied in unexpected ways, because it's from Allah. It's not a human thing. Allah can do whatever he wants, so if you just think, I don't have enough time already with my husband, we don't have money, we don't have this, but as you said, Daniel, if you legitimately don't have money, like you can't even pay rent, or you can't get enough food on the table, don't be thinking about a second wife. But like, if the problem is actually not objective, but it's in her mind because she operates from this place of fear, just think about this, the idea of tawakkul, the idea of barakah. I'm not saying that's going to get rid of it completely, but I'm just saying these are places to start. But the other thing is that when we talk about polygyny, I've heard women talk about trauma. I get it. I totally get it. If the man fumbles and he stumbles with it and he makes a mess, you totally will have traumatized first wives, right? But sometimes I found that the trauma is not because of polygyny exactly. It's just re-triggering or re-hitting an old wound, an old sore spot or a sensitivity from childhood. So it's actually like a trauma really from the woman's childhood and it's not coming up now or being created right now in real time. It's actually from the past. It's not the present. The present is merely like kind of touching it and she's cringing, she's like flinching with pain, but it's an old pain, it's an old wound. So this is childhood baggage or childhood trauma. And what I mean by that is if as a little girl, this woman actually felt unwanted or for any reason, she felt rejected by her parents, if she was overly criticized, you have sometimes these overcritical parents, hypercritical parents, whether they're Desi or Arab or whatever, ethnicity. Sometimes it's very sad, but children will grow up with like this like defeated mentality, this broken kind of personality. They're very fragile. They, all these things, right? So if a child feels unwelcome or rejected by parents and they have this sense of inadequacy, like a deep sense of I'm inadequate, I'm not enough, I do everything wrong. Sometimes there's just, psychologists would call this, you don't have a secure attachment with your primary caregivers as a child. Like a secure attachment was never formed. So then you grow up into a grown adult female. You're now a woman in your 20s and your 30s, and you don't have secure attachments. You're unable to securely attach to your husband. So insecure attachments can look like being overly clingy, overly needy, and like you latch onto him, like he's your lifeline, Or it could look like you're an avoidant attachment. You have avoidant attachment issues, which is you push him away, you're very distant, you keep your husband always at arm's length, you don't want to open up, you have your guard up with him all the time. So things like this. So you see those types of insecure attachments, and I think, Allahu Alam, it stands to reason that they were really like formed in childhood from insecure attachments, from bad parenting styles or neglectful parents or parents who didn't give children their rights when they were very, very young. So this sort of woman, imagine her husband asking for a second wife. She will absolutely lose it. She will fly off the handle. Why? Because it's not as simple as, oh, he wants to marry a second wife, it's halal. No, she's like, I am being rejected again. I feel unwanted again. All of my old trauma, like I was unwanted as a child, and now as a woman, I am unwanted again, as a grown woman, as an adult, and I can't bear it. It's intolerable. I cannot handle it. Do you know what I mean? My self-esteem is so fragile, and it's so thin, and it's so brittle, and so like vulnerable to attack that any small little breeze, not a strong wind, a small breeze will knock it down because it's not real. I never worked on myself. I never strengthened my inner resolve. I'm not grounded in my own internal authority. I don't have a good sense of self. My relationship with Allah is weak. My link to Allah is fragile. So things like a second wife, I can't handle it. Like I am, you know what I mean? It's a deep sense of insecurity. It was about the inner child. So it's a deep sense of insecurity. So a second wife is like shooting that inner child that is wounded inside her, shooting it in the face. Like, you know what I mean? And it's not the husband's fault. It's, as I'm saying, this is a problem. This is a problem that the woman had, and it's created in her childhood. So the husband has nothing to do with this. Poor guy didn't create this, but he certainly has to deal with it now, unfortunately. But really, the woman has to deal with it. Otherwise, anything that comes up in her life will trigger her like this and will create these sorts of crises. Everything will become a crisis. Or her husband was talking to a coworker once who happens to be female. Oh, he's leaving me. Oh, she has fears of abandonment. She has fears of rejection. You know what I mean? So anything will trigger this. A second wife will be the death blow, of course, So anyway, so these are unhealthy attachment systems. And then this brings me to my other issue, which is like her identity is not strong. So her sense of self is not strong. It was never very well formed. It was never strong anyway. Then she has priorities that are misaligned. And what I mean by this is, so in Arabic, we say Allah, ana al-akhar. Allah, me, and the other people. So Allah, myself, and others, everybody else. So there has to be a certain order for your life to work out, for everything to go well for you internally to have peace, for you internally, in your mind, in your heart, to have sakina, serenity, and to be able to weather the storms of life. Whether your husband wants to marry a second wife, or he loses his job, or he dies, or something happens to anything, you know, in your life, you need to have these three things in good order. Otherwise, if things are misaligned and disordered, you will suffer. So basically, it has to be Allah at the top. Allah has to be number one. Number two has to be yourself, like basically not in a selfish way, or me before anybody else. No, but my relationship with myself, just my sense of self, my sense of personhood, at the expense or at the risk of sounding like very hippie-ish. But you know, like this idea of I have a relationship with myself, i.e., I'm grounded in like who I am. I know who I am. I know my issues. I know my limitations. I know what I can and cannot handle. I know what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are. And I don't lie to myself about myself. I know myself, you know, those sorts of things. And then the third is your relationship with other people. But some of us, we live our life with everything flipped upside down. So the first thing in our life, the number one in my mind, is others. What do others think of me? What is my relationship with others, including my husband? And I say this as a Muslim woman and a Muslim wife and mother, alhamdulillah, who constantly is writing about the importance of putting your husband first, or having your husband be like your leader, and you the authority in your life, and you follow your husband, you obey your husband. So I don't mean to diminish any of that. But I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things, if you really step back, you want Allah as number one. But following Allah and obeying Allah means actually obeying your husband. So don't misunderstand me. But so Allah is number one, and that has to be the case. So if you don't have that, then polygyny will trigger you, and it will really destabilize your entire world. It will turn your universe upside down, and will destabilize your sense of self that you never had anyway, not really. And you've just been kind of limping along this whole time. But polygyny will come along and boop, knock you over, knock you upside down, you know, because you are kind of faking it, like fake it till you make it. But you can't fake it with things like this. Like, it'll hit you so hard that you will fall into pits of depression and the pit of despair, and want to end it all, and, you know, unalive yourself and kill your husband, and like it gets really ugly, you know. So these things, I think they have to do with these: what is my relationship with Allah, what is my relationship with myself, and then with every other human being, including my husband. So some women, they make their entire identity about who I'm married to. This is my husband. My entire identity is as his wife. Again, because I care about the perceptions, how I'm perceived by other people, and my role in their eyes, and the reflection that I see in their eyes of me. That's who I am. Do you know what I mean? So if my husband marries a second wife, then what does that mean for me? That negates my role, or it diminishes my role and my status. And now I don't know who I am, because all I was to myself is his wife. So now he has another wife. So who the heck am I now? Do you know what I mean? Like, she's me and I'm not myself. Like, it really messes with you. It can drive you crazy. And I think what we see online, or what we read sometimes, is women suffering from this sort of thing. It's like a psychological issue. Do you know what I mean? And it's tied heavily to iman. Like, you know. Anyway, so the other thing is that if you think of it like scarcity versus abundance, it's also a similar thing, is like competition versus teamwork. So if a woman is operating from a place of fear, and she sees everything in terms of scarcity, then everything will be a competition, because we are competing for scarce resources, me and her, or me and them if there's multiple, like 3 or 4. So we are all in fierce competition. We're locked in competition for very meager things, for scarce resources. But if we see things from a place of abundance, and we understand Allah to be Al-Razzaq, Al-Kareem, Al-Wahhab, then we understand it's not scarce. Inshallah, Allah will give us enough, and Allah will have enough resources to cover my needs, and hers, and hers, and hers, and all of our children, and my husband, our husband, right? So if you understand certain realities, you will see things as like, this new wife will be like your teammate. This is a team, and we can work as a team, and we have teamwork, instead of fierce, aggressive competition, and I hate her, and she's my enemy, she's my arch nemesis. No, you can view her as, this is my friend, this is my sister, she's my co-wife, and we're besties. We can be besties, even if we're not in the beginning. We can, if she's like-minded, and if she gets me, and if she has the same sense of humor, and the same understanding of the world, and the same understanding of Islam, then, like, so what? Like,
Yeah.
we can
Teamwork makes the dream work.
as you always say, Daniel. But for real,
teamwork makes the dream work.
yeah, versus competition. So I think that could, like, that's also one thing. Anyway,
And
so
that
that's
comes
all.
with the wisdom of a man. Also, we're talking about maturity.
Yeah.
Like, when he's thinking about second wife, to actually consider someone, like, understand his first wife, what's her
Mhm.
personality, and find someone that's going to mesh with that, that's going to gel with that, so that it can be successful in the way that you're describing.
Yeah, somebody if
So
you can
that's a pro
actually.
tip. Like we're giving the pro tips here on Muslim Skeptic for getting a second wife. Like you want to take your game to the next level. There's levels to this. Is all I'm saying. There's levels to this. Okay, don't be like some of these bums. They just like fumble the whole issue. Like
These
think
amateurs,
at a
it's like
different level.
it's amateur hour. No, we don't want
Yeah,
that. You got to be a pro. Okay, you want to marry second wife, you got to get professional tips from Daniel.
there you go.
No, but seriously, but these are does any of what is your reaction? I want to get you love this mushy stuff, right? Men and emotions. No, but what is your reaction for real about what I said, like her issues and I don't know, childhood things and
Yeah, I think it's a big consideration psychologically, like the scarcity mindset and insecurity, and that's definitely going to play a factor. But even if there is abundance mindset and there is no insecurity at all, like you're still going to not like it. Like a wife is still not going to like it. She's still not going to be. That's not her ideal. For 99% of women, maybe 1 out of 100 are going to like it literally has no effect on them, the idea of sharing their husband. But for 99%, it will, no matter if they have a scarcity or abundance mindset or they have no insecurities. So, but I still think that what you're providing, like the psychological dimension of it, is going to help. Like maybe some of the sisters who are watching, they can try to look inside, look at their own background, look at the way that they think about it, and maybe learn something about themselves. And husbands as well can try to understand like that dimension. So as I think it's a very good analysis, mashallah.
oh, thank you. Why so generous? No, but that's okay. I'm glad that made some sense because it makes sense in my head, and sometimes I wonder if I'm just like rambling. Okay. Anyways, no self-esteem issues here. No, I'm joking. No, but do you want me to get into? I feel like this is a pretty good segue to my 3 things, actually 3 or 4. Well, yeah, more like 3 or 4 things that I came up with that are kind of like the perks of polygyny for the first wife, which I've never seen. I don't think I've ever seen anybody write or talk about this. But do you
Oh
want to
yeah,
say something
let's
else first?
get to that. But let's look at the super chats
Okay.
real quick before we segue into the benefits. Lord Meisland says the title of this stream could kill a compassionate imam by proxy. Echo after echo says just a second wife. Unsubscribed. It's not just 2 is not enough.
No.
Let's see. Macmillan's disciple says, I've heard Falahin families in Egypt, like the farming, I guess,
Yeah,
families in
Philippine.
Egypt embrace polygyny due to their family structures and rural lives. How important is family anthropology structure?
You want me to
So,
answer?
oh, I'm the Egyptian.
You're kind
I
of
can give
Egyptian
it.
at this point, honestly. You're literally kind of.
But we wanted to talk about the racial aspect, right? That was part of what we wanted to discuss. Like, I think it's certain races are like more open to polygyny, like women of certain races as opposed to other races. Like when it comes to like Persian women, like Iranian women, I think that you have a death wish if you try to go for a second wife. I think Egyptian women it's also similar, but now Macmillan's disciple is saying, well, what about the more rural
Yeah.
Egyptian women or their family? Like, so anthropology, like this is something that might factor into the equation other than race. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. I do think that the class or for lack of a better word, I guess class or economic social strata will make a big difference because Egyptian women, you do have a death wish, just so everybody's clear. So, just speaking generally, not nobody specific in mind, but like Persian women. But for certain like people in economic situations, it actually makes sense to have more people in your household. Like it's a numbers game. So if you're especially fallahin, you're living on al-ard, the land. You're living on a farm, and you have there's animals that need to be fed and watered, and that's done like early in the morning before Fajr. There's plants that have to be like those crops and things that have to be taken care of, and then children, the husband, and it's like multi-generational households. And I know that DC in a lot of DC cultures, this is like very normal, the multi-generational households and like joint households, living with your in-laws. But in old time Egypt, I know for sure that was also, I mean, I think in old time everywhere, people lived as families, as big tribes and clans and families. You didn't just have a nuclear family like we have now. So I think in old times, I think in maybe many cultures, but including Egyptian and Muslim, it's advantageous to have multiple women. Like you have like your sister-in-law, like your husband, your brother's wife, and your like, because people live together, like a group of brothers will all marry and all their wives are helping, and the mom and dad, like the in-laws, are there. And then if a husband has a couple wives, like it's like the women do the women's work and the men do the men's work over here, and there's a lot of work to go around. So you need more people to be able to lighten the load of everybody else. So the more teammates you introduce onto the team or into the team, the less each individual teammate will have to do, because there's more hands, like many hands make light work. So I do think in rural areas and on farms and things like that, that's absolutely the case. So it makes sense. It's more pragmatic. It's more practical than, oh my God, does he love her more or me? And I'm sure for women, that's always going to be a factor for us. Like we're always going to wonder, who does he love more? Is she prettier than I am? Is she skinnier than I am? Is she whatever? That's like women, and you can't get rid of that, as you were saying. But I think in some cultures and in some situations, you almost don't have the luxury to dwell on that for too long, because there's a lot of pragmatic and practical stuff you have to take care of. So you just do what needs to be done.
That makes sense. Someone here, Vortex Future, says, you shouldn't forget that you live in America regarding this matter, despite First Amendment and everything. The state can squash you in 1 second. I think this is also the same person who was like spamming the chat saying that, that's why men have to be secret. And that's true. Like one of the reasons that men have to be take secret second wives is because it's illegal, or even if it's not illegal, it's something where if your first wife is so upset, she'll just divorce you. Like she'll just take you to divorce court and ream you in divorce court, take everything, take the children, because the court is not going to side with you because you did something technically illegal. So even if they don't charge you with a crime, they can still hold it against you in divorce proceedings in family court. So yeah, there's a lot of potential legal problems, whether criminally or civil, in getting a second wife, like no doubt about it. And we didn't really touch on that dimension in this stream, but it goes back to like, this is the feminist system, and who is really propping up the feminist system? It's men. Like, unfortunately, it's men who are simps, who keep wanting to give women more and more entitlements, want to give women more and more of these privileges to create equality. And fortunately, Muslim men also contribute to this. That's why now in Muslim countries, they're importing and adopting these feminist standards where actually it's illegal. Maybe they haven't criminalized or made polygyny illegal, but they're making it so that you have to get permission of the first wife. And if you don't, then she is entitled to divorce you. Of course, in Islamic law and in the Sharia, there's no such thing where a woman can just decide, a wife can decide, yeah, I'm going to divorce you and I'm going to leave. Like, as we've established in multiple long streams where I've presented a lot of material, like women in Islam, they don't have the right to talaq. They don't have the right. They have the right to request a khula. They can request it, but ultimately is the husband who has to decide, unless he is somehow violating her rights, shar'an, according to Islamic law. She has no right to just unilaterally decide to leave a marriage. But that's different when you have no fault divorce, when you have a Western feminist system, the gynocracy system, where women can exit whenever they want, just because they feel like it. So that's one of the things that you're really imperiling when you try to get a second wife. And that's, again, why it requires maturity. It requires communication. It requires planning. It requires a lot of things that, frankly, a lot of The brothers, they don't have the wherewithal. They don't have the capability to do all that. So that's my thoughts on that. Any thoughts? Any thoughts on Khalid?
Not really, but I'm just wondering now. Remember the sister wives show with the Mormons in Utah? Do you think they have different laws, or how does that work for them? I think only one wife is on the books, and then the others are all like not legally married, or what? How does that work? Because Muslim, we're not the
Yeah,
only ones.
yeah, they're not legally on the books because it is something illegal in America. Like it's called bigamy, but it's not enforced. Like it's not really, there's not much enforcement unless the government wants to crack down on a particular person because of he's a political dissident, for example. They're not gonna like really go and police this. When it becomes really relevant is in divorce court or family court, because then the lawyers on the woman's side can really take advantage of that. So, okay, let's see. Lord Meislin says, "Bro said let's pre-order a wife." Macmillan's disciple says, "Do Western Muslims have anxiety about polygyny due to their secularization and embracing family structures foreign to Islam, plus being ignorant of anthropology?" I think that you covered this. Like you covered the psychology issue, and I covered like the secularization or liberalization issue. I read that. I showed that Warrior really said 10 minutes in the stream, it's already goated. I'm not going to read things that are not related to polygyny. My wife, Warrior says, my wife is an only daughter, and I joked about second marriage the first week of our marriage, 3 years in, and I haven't brought it up since then.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I mean, like that's the thing. It requires a level of maturity to be able to joke or to make these kinds of statements. And some people are just too sensitive. Like, I think that's bad. Legendary Bear says multiple partners' wives is ironically a liberal's paradise. LOL. I'm wondering now how much of the fitra is liberalism on percentage wise. Got to be 20% minimum. Why is multiple partners liberals paradise? Not necessarily. Like it depends. Like because polygyny is one man with multiple women, but we don't accept one wife having multiple husbands, so it's not equality. So there's no liberalism in that concept. But the idea of like having multiple partners, promiscuity, again, that's liberalism says that we didn't need to take away all responsibility and all duties. And so if you mean like free love, yeah, that is what liberalism advocates. That's not marriage. That's not Islamic conception of polygamy or nikah. So I don't agree with that comment. Okay, someone says, Daniel, you're from Houston. If you do this, I'm reporting you to the cops. Polygamy is illegal. So is this like your burner account, Khalid?
Maybe. What's the name? Stranger what? Mentality.
Strange mentality paper.
Sounds like me.
Yeah. Okay, some of these are not related. Oh, this one's funny. My wife, Petlo says, my wife always brings up the widow argument for polygamy, yet still gives your idea of World War III preparation an F. So you're not the only one.
See, I'm not the only one. It's kind of a weak argument. I'm sorry. You got to do better.
Okay, let's save the rest for later. Okay, so now let's get into the final segment of the show, where Khalid is going to give a brilliant advocacy for polygyny, brilliant, never before heard. Anyone who's not convinced is going to be convinced by this argument now that she's going to present to us, inshallah. So just get out your paper and pen to take notes. Put on your listening caps, as they say in school. And Professor Khalid is gonna. This is a situation where I actually do advocate for women's education. Like, you need to get yourself educated on this. So take out your notes. Pretend you're like at the university, sisters. Any sisters listening? This is your chance. This is the only time that Muslim Skeptic is interested in your education.
And yeah, second wife is gonna work out how for you after all this.
Yeah.
Any potentials are fleeing the scene right now. They're escaping. They're like, I'm not gonna. I want to marry this bigot, this misogynist. Anyway, so
and racist too, because we're talking about like different races being
well,
more
I never did say my theory, which is I do think not everyone. So don't tell me in the chat. Well, not all. I know one person who's not like that, but I do think that African American sisters are like way more chill about it from my experience. Because the stories that I gave you guys at the beginning, with the sister that literally went and looked for a second wife for her husband, that they were African American, all three, the two wives and the husband. And the second story, actually, they're also African American. And not to say there are no exceptions. There are. But.
Even like with West Africans, not African Americans, but West Africans like Mali, some like Ghana, maybe some of these countries, I think it's like if the husband doesn't actually go and get a second wife, like the first wife thinks, I married a bum, I married a loser, he can't even secure a second wife, let alone a third or fourth. So it's like almost like the first wife is going to push you and encourage you and kind of nag you, like, stop nagging me. Okay, I'll go find a second wife, just stop nagging me. I think that might be present in some cultures as well.
Yeah, what was that? I don't know if it was a joke, Daniel, or a meme or something, where you told me this like a few years ago. I still remember, like, what was it, like, among men in the gatherings of like men or leaders or the elders or something, or the patriarchs, like the man who has 4 wives can sit and speak. The man who has 3 wives can enter, but has to only stand or something. And a man who only has 2 wives is like getting everyone's shoes by the door or something. I can't even come in. Only 2 wives. What are you doing? Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, and the one who only has 1 wife is like going and cleaning after the donkeys and the horses, like in the barn.
In the stable. Yeah, he can't even, he's nowhere near the men. Yeah, anyway, so definitely I think it varies by country and culture. So it's safe to say it's not the same everywhere. Okay, so here's what I came up with, because basically why this is a thing is because one day I was thinking about, okay, so like, how does it work with second wives, and why, like, what's in it for everybody? Like, there's different parties, right? So if a husband in polygyny, there's one husband and, obviously 1 wife, and then either a second or whatever, maybe the third, maybe the fourth. But at the very least, we can keep it down to the basics, which is just 1 husband and 2 wives. So it's easy to see for the husband what the motivation could be. I mean, everybody's different, so we're not assuming, but it's kind of clear what probably or what likely is the motivation for the husband. He just wants companionship. He wants variety. He wants the idea of quality versus quantity. So he wants like just a larger quantity, as that is kind of a male inclination. So that's easy. The second wife is also somewhat easy to figure out because, okay, what's in it for her? Money, safety, security, marriage to a good man who probably she sees as like he's established, he's married, so he's proven himself to be a good provider, good protector, good leader, etc. So his first wife is doing well. She's in good hands. I want to be similarly in good hands. So it's not like a trial and error. It's more like he's proven himself to be like a good husband. So like he's already kind of made, and the first wife has worked out the kinks. So I'm getting him like at a better stage in life or something like that. So I've heard people say that. So the second wife is easy to figure out why she would enter, what her motivations might be, what's in it for her. But what was stumping me for a long time was what is in it for the first wife? My God, what could she possibly be gaining, right? She's losing more time with her husband. She's getting like less time with him, maybe less money, just less availability, less presence because he's dividing his time between two places or two women. What is she getting? Is she getting literally anything? And for a long time, I thought, no, she's getting zero things. And this is why I believe, this is why we always see when feminists, Muslim feminists or whatever talk about, or simps, when they talk about polygyny, they're always, oh, this poor hapless first wife, she's just a victim. She's a martyr. She's mazluma, haram, she's wronged and oppressed. And no one can find anything to say but that. And I understand there are many cases in which she really is oppressed. Okay, so no problem. But I came up with all these kind of different things where she is not oppressed. She actually gains something instead of losing something. But also, I want to preface all this by saying that if it works out well, if the husband managed it correctly, he has emotional maturity and emotional understanding of how women work and what everybody needs. He knows his first wife well, he knows himself, etc., right? And if the second wife coming in is like a like-minded person, she's a fun girl, she's for the not for the husband, but I mean, she's like fun vis-a-vis the first wife, like she's like-minded to her, she's similar to her, things like this. So if everything kind of in an ideal world, if everything works out perfectly and everything goes off without a hitch, which I know are big ifs, but if we can just imagine that world, then these are the perks for the first wife in a situation of polygyny. So number one, please take notes. Number one, she gets more free time to herself. The first wife will get more free time to herself. Why? Because this came to me one day. Sorry, Daniel, when you were traveling. So Daniel has periods where he travels more, sometimes he travels less, but there was a year where you're traveling a lot, subhanAllah. So it was me and the kids at home and it was fine. Everything was fine. But I remember thinking one night, all the kids were in bed. We finished dinner, did all, everything. The kids were asleep upstairs. And I'm just like, oh, it's quiet. It's calm. It's peaceful. It's just like tranquil, right? And not to say things aren't peaceful or tranquil with you. Of course, Habibi, they are. But no, but you know what I mean? I think wives will get me. Like if your husband is away because he's traveling or he's on a business trip or whatever, it's like a little bit different when the kids are all in bed and you're just alone. It's like this alone time that you have to yourself. You can hear yourself think. You have time for your own thoughts. There's no one rushing you or kind of not even like, not that your husband is rushing you on purpose, but like if you're like in the kitchen trying to wash the dishes after dinner, but he wants to hang out or watch TV or talk to you or whatever it is that you do after dinner and bed and kids are in bed or whatever, like hanging out. But sometimes it's like, I want to be in the kitchen. I need to finish the dishes and I want to put this here and I want to do this. And I sometimes don't do that stuff because I know my husband's sitting kind of waiting on me. So I'll do it in the morning. But you have this like flexibility and freedom if your husband is away. And I'm not saying this would be good daily or every single day or every single night, but sometimes it's good to get those little breaks, alone time for yourself as a wife, So if your husband has these cyclical, regularly scheduled, time with his wife, days or nights with his other wife, then it's that those are your, like, don't think of it as, oh, I'm going to sit here and mourn and cry and just cry into my pillow because he's off doing God knows what with God knows who. No, it's like, break time. So you bust out all the things that you can't do with your husband around, like watching whatever girly movie, like halal, of course, clean, but chick flicks or girly movies that your husband, he doesn't ever want to watch or that he's not into, or doing your deep cleaning that you can't do with him around because you don't want to waste that time because you'd rather hang out with him. But if he's away, then you're like, okay, I'm going to deep clean my closet, whatever it is, right? So, or just, I want to sit and think. So that's one thing. And it's like a bigger thing than I think one would expect, especially the more children that you have. SubhanAllah, now having 5, I really, really appreciate alone time to myself. I love my husband. I love my children. But sometimes you just really need to be like quiet and have no one speak to you or ask you anything or tell you anything. And you just want to like sit and zone out, Anyway, not to belabor that point, but that's point number 1. So you get more time to yourself because the husband is out. The second thing is you get more time with your husband, ironically, and you know how I thought of this is because sometimes when we're married and it's like monogamy, so you see your husband all the time, especially if he like happens to have a job where he works online, if he works from home, but even if he's like out all day for a full-time job, then he comes and, he's present. There's no other wife that you're sharing time with. But the time, it's about the quality versus the quantity of hours that you get with your husband. So sometimes I've heard of this. I've actually heard of cases where the wife is like, after my husband married a second wife, we made every hour that he was with me, we made it count. And I was really intentional about what I wore, my makeup, the clothes the clothes I wore, the food I cooked for him. It was very intentional because I knew it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I get time with him. Those are my days. And so Monday, I'm going to cook something really nice. Dinner is going to be good that night. And Tuesday, he's not around. He's with with his other wife. So like, but versus if Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he's home. So it's less intentional. Does that make sense? So time with the husband is more intentional when time is a little bit more limited. If there's limitations and restrictions, then you make what time you have with him really count. So for some wives, this is what happens. I'm not saying everybody. So you have more time with your husband. And also another aspect is like you can have more like quote unquote date nights with your husband if, again, big if the second wife is very trustworthy and you love her and you know her and she loves your kids, then you have somebody built in who's like a built-in support and babysitter who'll watch the kids as you and the husband go out and go eat dinner or go get ice cream or whatever, right? And if you don't have that, because we live in a world where we're very isolated and we don't live with big families or extended families, so you don't have anyone to just on a whim come and watch your children, you know, somebody that you trust like your parents or whoever. We used to have that in the past more, but now the village has disappeared. So you kind of recreate that village almost with a co-wife who will be like, hey, you two go out, I'm home with the kids, don't worry, I got this. So you go and it's like nice, you know. And in monogamy, that can be hard to come by. Now, number 3 is you get more friend time. Again, as the first wife. So if you think about date night, if you just reverse that and say, okay, maybe the husband can stay home some night or whatever with the kids and or during the day or whatever, but there's like some time that the husband can spend hanging out with the kids and watching them, then you as the first wife and the second wife, who's now your bestie, you guys can go out and have a little girls outing and just go shopping or go buying, I don't know, buy clothes, buy hijabs, buy whatever you want to buy or go or do or see people or visit someone or have a girls gathering at somebody's place or whatever, you know. And I think that would be nice because we really need social time. As women, we're very different from men. Men also need to socialize. Socializing is so important because human beings, men and women, we love socializing and we need it to a certain degree, but women need it more, right? We women were a lot more like friend oriented. We're more social. We take cues from the group and we watch for body language and nonverbal like signals. So we really need like to hang out with other women. And I find that sometimes in the modern world, especially, I don't know where you guys all live, but in the US and in general in the West, things are a lot more fragmented and socially isolated, and we're very lonely. I think we suffer a lot from a place of, or a feeling of deep, extreme loneliness and like almost existential, like aloneness. Like I'm alone. I don't have anybody. And alhamdulillah, if you are lucky enough and fortunate enough, blessed enough by Allah to have a husband and children, then you have that. But some of us, like, you know, we crave, like, I wish I had good friends. I wish I had like a sister that I loved, that I trusted, that I could also, if you have good friends, some of us, alhamdulillah, we have good friends, but they're all married. So if I want to go have lunch with my friend, she needs to be free and her husband needs to be free, or somebody, her mom or whatever, to watch her kids. And I need to arrange my kids to be watched for the two of us to go. But if she's your sister wife, like she doesn't have to, like her husband is your husband. So if he stays home, then you go, you know what I mean? Like she's more available, she's more present and ready than like even a friend of yours who's not a sister wife. So basically you get more social time. And even if it doesn't involve going out, you could just be home together and you can hang out, have like a girls' movie night, paint each other's nails, whatever, you know, braid each other's hair. So it's like a built-in friend, you know? So basically that's, those are the 3 things. And then the overall point, as I'm like reflecting on these 3 things, what they have in common is that polygyny, if done right, and if the 2 wives are friends and genuinely like love each other and like relate to each other as friends instead of enemies and arch nemesis, if you can do that, then it's like it provides you with a degree of flexibility and freedom that is not found in monogamy, which is, I know sounds shocking, but does that make sense? It's a certain flexibility. It's a certain ability to go and you can have friend time, or you can have a date hour or date night with your husband, and or you can just have time by yourself. It's a certain flexibility that just doesn't exist in the same way when you're always on 24/7 because you're the only wife and it's you and your husband. That's it. Everything's on your shoulders. But when you introduce a second or third or fourth person into that dynamic, it takes some of that pressure off sometimes. I think it can, if it's done well. If it's not done well, it makes everything worse. But
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So this is like a positive case. This is a positive case for polygyny. And here's someone in the chat. My husband just got home from work. Can't wait to pitch him yet again. So good job, Khaled. You're like really empowering.
But just be
You're
careful.
empowering the women to really push their husbands.
Well, just only thing I would advise is just be very intentional and very careful and cautious when you pick a second wife, obviously, because if you just pick whoever, like a rando, and it doesn't work out, it obviously can create a lot of problems. So, yeah, I think all the men are convinced probably. But yeah, I just, actually, this reminds me, Daniel, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but I have a good friend, like now actually, who we were randomly just arbitrarily talking about polygyny once, like me and her and a couple of friends, and just like as us women, as moms, we were talking about polygyny and joking. And then I said, "Oh, like, can you just imagine? Isn't that crazy?" And she said, "Girl, I would. I don't mind." I was like, "What?" She said, "Yeah, it's fine. It just depends on who he picks. Like, I would help him pick. Like, if my husband were to include me, and he would. She has like a very kind husband, mashallah. She's like, oh yeah, he would, like, we would pick together. She's like, if that girl is like, I like her and she's nice and she's a good Muslima and she'll like we gel and we work together and our personalities kind of mesh. She's like, why the heck not? I would love it." And I remember this is a few years ago and it was a little bit surprising for me. So yeah, this is real. Like, not all women hate it. Although I think probably, as you said, it's never going to be a woman's favorite option, but not all women. I think if you understand life in a certain way, it's not the end of the world, honestly. Life moves on and things will be fine, you know?
Not not only things will be fine, like you'll thrive. You've just given the argument that it's gonna be like a thriving situation and the best things are gonna come to you. Gonna have a friend like your long lost friend that you always wanted, who really understands you and is gonna be like your bosom buddy. Like that's what's waiting for you, sisters. That's what's coming if you
And if
just give it a chance.
and I was gonna say, well, it depends on how you do it. Like, we didn't even talk about the logistics. Like, if are you gonna live in two separate homes and two separate like households, or which is totally like an option, and that's what a lot of people do, or do you want to really go crazy and all live together as one happy family? But if you do, which is obviously rare, because I think each woman needs to have her own kitchen. I think besties or not, no, don't touch my kitchen. Where did you put the frying pan? What? Like, so
Frying pan.
we're gonna have some issues if you move my pots and pans or you move my spatulas around. I'm not gonna like that. But I think because women can be strangely territorial about their kitchen. I am. I found that out, like, yeah, firsthand. It was weird. I didn't know that about myself. But like, just with like people visiting or whatever. But if you do somehow manage to live with your bestie, i.e. your new co-wife, in the same house, then you can like literally do half the work. That's one good thing that's really cool, is you can literally split the work in half, because it's like adding one person is nothing. It's not that big of a deal. So you're still having to cook dinner. You're still going to have to make breakfast and, whatever, do laundry. Imagine if one day she cooks, the next day you cook. Then you're like not cooking every day, or if you're whatever. Yeah, you get my point. Even if you're not cooking daily, but, and 1 week she does laundry, next week you do laundry. Like, it's just, if she's cooperative, right? That's the whole point. If it's a very big if, depending on who she is, and if she's selfish, if she's entitled and lazy and hates working and she doesn't like hard work, then it's going to be a nightmare and she's not going to help you and it's going to be just a burden. But if she can be like cooperative and she's selfless and she's a hard worker and she likes you, genuinely likes you and wants to help you, and she has this cooperative spirit and she loves your children, and you guys just decide to make it and you decide to get along and kind of be the bigger person, but both of you mutually, then like, honestly, it could be kind of amazing. Like, okay, whose turn is it to do laundry? And she's like, hey, you sit this one out. I got this. I got laundry. Just bring your kids' Pampers, all the baskets of laundry down. I got this. And then who's making dinner? Hey, you made biryani last week or last night. I'm making, I don't know, nehari. Or what else do we like, Daniel? I love nehari and biryani. I'm making kebabs if she's Persian, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine.
So this is an interesting comment from Sheikha.
Yeah.
We have examples from the wives of the Prophet ﷺ befriending and hanging out. It's not all just jealousy, and who deserves jealousy more than the Prophet ﷺ?
Alayhi salatu wassalam. Absolutely.
That's a unique perspective.
Well, Aisha radiallahu anha, to be fair, and she did, break that plate that one time. But again, it was one time. I think people bring that example up about Aisha radiallahu anha, and it just shows like a natural female tendency to get jealous. It's totally natural, but it's not like she broke plates every single day, right? Like people, I think, hype that up and they cling to that example as, see, women hate it. Yes, like it's clear that it's not women's favorite option in the world, but they had jealousy over the Prophet ﷺ, as you said. Who is more deserving of women's jealousy than a husband? Like, imagine the Prophet ﷺ, yani, as a zawj, alayhi salatu wasalam. But they still made it work, and they were friends. Like Hafsa and Aisha were friends. They were besties. Like they, like Salama, people were friends. And also, I remember when Aisha radiallahu anha, I don't know if you guys remember this, but quick seerah quiz. Who refused? Okay, so we know when the Hadithat al-Ifk happened, when the incident of the Ifk and the lies about Aisha and her honor, radiallahu anha, when they started spreading, and the munafiq Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, he started those things, and then it spread like wildfire. The rumor spread in Medina, and it was a very tough time. Subhanallah, it was a big trial, a big tribulation for the ummah at that time. One of the wives, this is a good example of women not letting their jealousy run rampant and ruin their lives, ruin the dunya and the akhirah of just because they're co-wives. But who can tell me in the chat? Daniel, you can see the chat. I can't. So I don't know. But there was one wife who refused to speak ill of Aisha, radiallahu anha. Her sister, Hamna, she said, "Oh, Aisha, I can't." I don't know what she said, but she said something about Aisha radiallahu anha. Oh, how could she do this? Or, oh, I can't imagine doing this. Or, well, what did Aisha do? Radiallahu anha, astaghfirullah. But that's what was being said. The sister, who was actually the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, so Aisha's co-wife, said nothing. She said, "I refuse to speak about this. I'm not gonna." Or I think she defended Aisha. She said, "No, Aisha wouldn't do this. This is lies. This is false." So,
as the Sira quiz, people can put their chat. While you're doing that, Assalamu alaikum says Blogging Theology. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good to see you, bro. In the chat, everyone give some love to Brother Paul from Blogging Theology. So let's see. Anyone know the answer? So some are saying Hafsa. No,
well, she had a
Hafsa.
sister. Well, she had a sister who was talking, and the sister got punished. But the wife herself, the Zawjat Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, she didn't say anything, so she didn't get punished like her sister. Her sister got punished. So Hafsa, it doesn't apply to Hafsa. I'm not saying it. Yeah, barakallah fi Zainab. Yes.
Zainab bin Jahsh.
Zainab bin Jahsh, yes. Hamna bin Jahsh spoke of Aisha. So, radiallahu anha wa ardaha, she, about Aisha, she was punished, the sister of Zainab. Zainab herself said not one word. She didn't speak ill, but what I'm pointing to is this could have been her chance. This was her shot. If she wanted to kind of like jab Aisha, because supposedly, oh, women hate it, and this is not natural, and this is torture for women, it's trauma. I get it, but like if you look at as the sister who was with the initial comment that you pulled up, Daniel, like the Prophet ﷺ and his wives, they were an example. And if Zainab really, was like, oh, I'm so mad, I hate all my co-wives, and here's Aisha, this is an incident that's going on, let me just vent a little, let me like rant, like she could have, and she didn't. She was like, no, I refuse. This is not right, to her co-wife. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, mashallah, that's a great example from the Sirah. But yeah, I think a lot of people have gotten a different perspective. A lot of the comments are appreciating Khalid's perspective. And yeah, so I think we can look at the rest of the super chats. One other thing that I want to mention is the idea that, again, like I talked about male wisdom, and one perspective that I do share is the idea, like if we're looking at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when he was married to Khadija radiallahu anha and she was alive, he didn't have a second wife. He didn't have a second wife. He was only married to Khadija radiallahu anha before prophethood and after prophethood. And I think there's something to that. I think that there's something to that in the sense that if a man is marrying his wife when he's young, he is young. He's not at his peak, right? When he's just like in his early 20s. He doesn't have wealth. He doesn't have property. He might not even have a job. Like he might not actually be gainfully employed. or have like a very good job. And she is willing to marry him despite his lack of means. Like he's an alpha or a sigma or anything. And she sacrifices. Okay. She takes a big chance, because if she's young, which she's going to be young, then it's also a kind of risk that she's taking. She's at the peak of her value, like her marriage value, and she could marry someone who is older and who is more wealthy or more established, but she marries someone that is not in that situation, someone who's younger, her age. So she's kind of made a sacrifice. And then, I think that is worth a lot. I think that is significant. So then when he does become the Chad, when he does become the Sigma or the Alpha, he gains wealth, he gains property, he starts peaking, later on in his late 30s and his 40s. And then like he wants to go get a second wife or third or fourth. Like, is that really like a classy thing to do? Let's just put it that way. Like, is that really like and like have no regard, or like you're not even communicating, like you're doing it in secret to your wife who stood by you, like who took that risk. And in this scenario, we're assuming that this first wife, she not only married you, but she's actually a good wife. Like she's actually an obedient wife who fears Allah, and she is a good Muslimah. She has had your children, she has raised them, like she's doing everything that Allah is requiring of her, and she's being obedient to you as a husband, like treating you as the authority, being obedient, like being from the qanitat. And then like, does that not have like any weight? Like, does that not have any effect on the kind of decision that you're making? I think that is a perspective that men really need to have, or they need to really let that marinate and have that kind of appreciation for their wives. Now, what I'm saying here is not that, oh, that means it's haram, or, oh, I'm not making a kind of religious ruling here. I'm just saying, like, in the world of consideration, because there is something called wisdom, there is something called consideration of your family, and really appreciating others, especially your wife, like who has done so much for you. I think that needs to be part of the equation. That needs to be part of the equation. It needs to be given weight. And people will say that this makes me a simp for having this perspective, but I think there's something to it. Like, I think there's a reason that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not marry second wife when he was married to Khadija, and I don't think, and he also did not approve of Ali radiallahu anhu marrying someone in addition to his daughter Fatima radiallahu anha. And it's not, and that's something that feminists will bring up to make a larger point, like, oh, polygyny is never acceptable and second wives are never acceptable. Like, that's how they use it. I'm not using it in that way. I'm not like citing this to make that point. I'm citing it to show that there are other considerations, even when we look at the marriages of the Prophet ﷺ and his family. There are other considerations than just halal and haram, and it requires someone to have like the wisdom and the understanding to triangulate, to consider all of these different factors, and to make a decision that's going to be good not only for yourself as the man, but good for your whole family, good for your wife, your children, the potential second wife, the community. That's the way, that's what it means actually to be a Chad or an Alpha or Sigma or whatever. A man who is not only concerned about his own desires, like what he wants, what's good for him personally, and all he can think beyond is it halal or not? Like, no, the man, the true man of merit is someone who actually thinks like, what is going to help everyone? What is going to uplift everyone? What is going to and make the just choice? And sometimes making the just choice doesn't mean that everyone will be equally happy. We should put that caveat in there, but he's still concerned. It still factors in. He still factors in people's feelings, their sacrifices, their contribution. And I think that needs to be said as well. So any final comments from Khalid before we finish up the super chats and then sign off?
No, I don't think so. We can get into the super chats, inshallah.
Okay, great. Let's see.
Actually, sorry, I will say, sorry, I just thought of something random. You know how I mentioned the American TV show, the reality show Sister Wives? Something just came to me. I remembered. Okay, so any of you Muslimin in the chat or Arabs in general, Arab in the chat, if you guys mention this in the chat, if you know what I'm talking about. But there was an Egyptian musalsal, like a telenovela, like a soap opera, I guess, or a TV show that was like, it's old. It's from like 20 years ago or something, or more maybe. Well, it's called عائلة الحاج متولي. You know about this, Daniel. And it's a story about polygyny. Basically, it's this family of like multiple wives and one husband. His name is Mitwelli. So Mitwelli, he starts off as like an errand boy. He's low status. He's poor. He's just working for this old rich uncle who kind of made him, right? He's like a merchant or business owner, and the older man. And then anyway, he dies, and then Mitwelli, the errand boy, kind of like takes over the business, and then he's successful, and then he marries his widow, and then after that he kind of basically has a series of marriages, and he ends in the end he culminates with like a fourth wife. But and it's just the trials and tribulations of their family life, and it's just funny, and it's like it's very funny. I don't know if anybody knows that. Yeah, you remember? Yeah, there you go. Fatima. Okay, so عائلة الحاج متولي, a lot of Egyptians watched it. Fatma Kushari? I don't know. You mean the female wife character? I don't know. I don't know their real names because I don't know the Egyptian ممثلين and ممثلات like that. I wish I did, but they I don't know their real names, but the names in the show, the first wife was like or Amina, and the second wife was Ni'matallah. Does anyone remember this? Anyway, it's a funny show. And if you want to see, like, if you're Arab, if you understand Arabic, if you want to see a lighthearted take, and I don't want to condone or like promote everything on that show, obviously, but yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of like, okay, this is what it could be. Some of it is bad and some of it is good. Some of it is hilarious. Just like they fight with each other, the jealousy. It just shows you like the day-to-day natural kind of interactions between the wives, and they grow to love each other, except for the fourth wife who's a shrew, and then he divorces her because she's a gold digger. But anyway.
Okay, so let's look at the super chats. Again, before we read them, Global Ummah Retreats. We have marriage school coming up in April. Go ahead and come to our marriage school. If you like what we have to say on marriage, we're going to be co-teaching, myself and Khalid. It's going to be gender segregated. It's going to be a 4-day retreat, all day, from our workshops to actual lecturing to Q&A session, counseling. Lot going to be happening, inshallah. It's going to be a really good time. And as I pointed out before, like, this is a rare opportunity to have a Muslim husband and wife speaker who are actually going to teach traditional marriage in this way. And you're going to have like that kind of access, inshallah. So this is happening in Turkey in April. Go sign up through the link in the description below, Global Ummah Retreats. And we are now offering, just brand new, remote access. So the remote access, you're not going to have access to the entire retreat, to all of the lectures, but you're going to get some access. Some of the main meat of it, you're going to be able to access. And the details and the conditions, that's all in the website, Global Ummah Retreats. Go to the link, check it out. If you can't actually come to Turkey and get the full experience, you can still participate now. We're giving you the option to also participate because demand was so high. People really want to attend, but they just can't make the trip for whatever reason. And now we have that option for you available. So check it out, Global Ummah Retreats. The link is in the description below. Okay, so let's see. What are some of these comments here? Let's see. Sensei says, I've talked to so many women about wanting a polygynous marriage, but the disgust I receive as a reaction and the fact that I have to explain myself constantly, while when I was just searching one wife, I didn't have to explain. Yeah, it's because people are getting more liberal. Like, women are becoming more and more feminist. That's the problem. Lemon Monkey or Le Monkey says, Daniel, please keep working out so you can mog the Wahhabis with your chiseled Aryan jawline. Thanks, Habibi. Okay, we'll do. Let's see. Vortex Future says, so you're entitled to special rights, but gay people aren't? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Gay people need rights too.
Gays are people too.
Yeah. The gays need rights. Like, okay, go back to 2015, brah. Go. This is 2026. We're done with the gay stuff. Let's see. Oh, here's a simp who's really triggered. A system called marriage that gives men power over multiple women in the name of God is not morality, but control. And women are conditioned to defend it.
I am a self-hating woman. I have internalized the patriarchy. I am, what else? Stockholm syndrome. What else? I've had all these labels flung at me over the past 6 or 7 years by these raging feminists online. You just have to laugh at a certain point. And at first, I was very hurt. I'd be like, oh, how could they say I'm a self-hating woman? That is so mean. Daniel, look at this. And then now you just gotta roll your eyes. It's crazy. People are still saying this. Crazy.
Yeah, I just think that there are a lot of homosexuals in the chat.
Why are they following you, Daniel? That's the question. Why? What have you done to prompt this? I'm blaming the victim.
Thanks a lot. Okay, thanks a lot. Khaled. Savage. I'm getting roasted from all sides today. This was supposed to be a fun stream for me. Instead, I'm getting roasted by the chat. The chat is saying that I'm not a Chad. I'm not alpha enough. Khaled is saying that I'm attracting the homos. What the heck?
I didn't say it like that. Don't put words in my mouth. I was blaming the victim, but don't add more to that. We can blame the victim, can't we? It's 2026.
Yeah. Yankees fan says, silly topic. We have difficulty finding one, and you're discussing more than one. In the West, it isn't going to happen. Find an antiseptic one and be happy. Talk about a scarcity mindset.
True.
This guy.
No, but I do think, not to defend, but I think that it is hard to find good women. Honestly, I do think it's hard to find good women for a wife, and it's hard to find a good man for a husband. I don't know. I think it's maybe that's the scarcity mindset of me coming out now. But I don't know. You have to be very careful. I think both men and women, they have to have this very stringent, strict vetting process for both sides. A man trying to get married and a woman trying to get married, because a lot of people, they say one thing or something, or they present themselves one way before marriage, and then the mask comes off later after a marriage. So you do have to be careful.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but I was gonna just say also one small thing. Polygyny is not for everyone. What we're not saying in this live stream, what we're not trying to say is, everyone, please go out and engage in polygyny. Everyone right now who's happily married in a monogamous marriage, go off and just find a random person off the street, bring her in the house, marry her, ruin your life, ruin your first marriage. We're not trying to say it's for everyone and it applies to everybody's life and it's feasible and realistic and wise. That's what your whole point, Daniel. That's what that was about, wisdom. So not everything you can do, you should do, right? Just because you can drive a motorcycle at the highest speed ever on the highway, just because you can doesn't mean you should. You might crash and die. You might, do a lot of damage. So we're just saying, let's destigmatize it. Let's not make it this biggest, craziest taboo. And people who are eligible and qualified, because you have to have certain criteria to even be eligible to get a second wife. And if you meet those criteria and, you're able to, and everything is fine in your life to do that, then let's not shame those people or stigmatize them, men or women. But we're not saying literally everyone go do it. That's not what we're saying. So don't be childish about it, Yeah,
that's relevant to this comment by Samuel. A lot of people in the chat saying, Daniel, when are you getting a second wife? And if that's the message that you got from this stream, you missed the point. The point was that these are the benefits. We are trying to destigmatize it. We're trying to really take things down a notch in terms of the sensitivity that people have on this. And that's the first step in kind of making it more normal and making it more acceptable. And Muslim, like, where do you really see? Because if a man like an imam or a da'i talks about this, all the women say, "Oh, he's just giving the man's perspective. Who cares?" Like, of course he's going to be in favor of it. He doesn't understand. And when women talk about it, like women amongst themselves, like doing their little podcast or whatever, it's like, okay, these women are completely out of touch, or these women are only all they think about is themselves. They're feminists, whatever. And it's rare to have, like, okay, a husband and a wife who aren't actually polygamous. We're not polygynous, but talking about it and being able to like consider these factors, these ideas. And that's like it comes with maturity. It comes with having the ability to like consider ideas without necessarily adopting it. And I think there's maybe an IQ problem, or there's like a gap in maturity or intelligence. Like, people, you can't talk about a subject apparently unless you're actually doing it. And if you're talking about it and you're not actually doing it, then that somehow means that you're a hypocrite. And I don't understand how people can be so low IQ to not understand that. No, you can talk about something and not actually do it. Or the case of you, like, being a Harvard graduate. Like, okay, yeah, my wife, Khalid, is a Harvard graduate, but I also speak against women's education. Oh, what a contradiction. Oh, it's such a big contradiction. Oh, how can this be? How can your wife be graduated from Harvard and then you somehow have a perspective that that's not a good thing for women to be going and getting educated? How is that possible? Like, okay, you're retarded. Like, you've just revealed that you're retarded. You're literally retarded, in that you can't understand that. We're just pointing out that, okay, based on experience, based on all of these factors, based on these arguments, like, is this something good? Will this be good for society, for women to get educated, for example? And people just can't like consider things without being involved in it personally themselves. And I think this is like an intellectual gap.
Yeah, it's kind of like people can't handle theory. Like, it's either real or you're a liar. Like, it's either real for you or for me. It either is part of my life or it doesn't exist. Like, okay, something can exist and I can talk about it or think about it or discuss it just as a theory without applying it personally firsthand in my actual life. That can happen. But I think you're right. I hate to say that it's an IQ problem, but maybe that's a possibility, or it's just a lack of experience, or like a certain level of like naivete, that people are like, well, you don't have two wives. Why are you talking about two wives then? What a liar, what a hypocrite. Or like, when are you going to do it? Well, no one said, this is going to happen, but can we talk about it? Is that allowed? Or do and I think, yeah, it's a weird stunted thing. Or the Harvard thing. Oh my God. Yeah, I think every time there's like new followers or new hate followers or something on my Facebook page, and they discover the scandalous fact that I went to Harvard, they go into screeching mode. Oh, you went to Harvard? You don't want us to go to community college or whatever mid-tier college they're in, whatever. And it's like this ego, this pride thing. Well, you're such a hypocrite. You just want things for yourself, and you're not being consistent. And it's not like it's that. I think people have a very hard time differentiating between the rule and the exception. And so exceptions don't violate, or they don't negate the rule. The rule still stands, but it's just subhanAllah. But it's so funny, especially with the Harvard. No, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of mental gaps there. But that'll take us far off course for the topic if we go into all of that. But Kareem Zad says, imagine the barakah a person can have from all the Muslim offspring, all the du'as, prayers, more Muslims to come, etc. I guess coming from a Muslim mindset becomes less about pleasure and more about the akhirah. Yeah, it's like definitely procreation, having a lot of children. This is something that the Prophet ﷺ encouraged in the Ummah very explicitly, but at the same time, we have to have children and raise them properly. Okay, so if you're going to start having children and you're getting a second wife to have more children, and the second wife that you're paying attention to and having children with is gonna make you like not give the necessary resources or attention in raising your first set of children right properly, then you're harming your first set of children with your first wife. And they're, you're just putting them in public school. You're putting them in a situation where they're falling into all kinds of social ills or the haram, or they are even la qadar Allah, they're leaving Islam, they're losing connection with Islam. Like, what is the benefit of that? Like, what's the benefit of having a lot of kids that aren't even going to be strong Muslims? Like, they're not going to be strong Muslims, they're not going to be strong believers. Like, did you really do something? No. Like, you might have pretended that you were doing something, you might have convinced yourself that you're doing something, but actually you did a lot of harm. So just keep that in mind. Yes, have a lot of offspring that you're going to raise as strong Muslim men and women, strong Muslim men and women who are going to be leaders for the ummah. That's what's needed, not just like popping out kids and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me of something, Daniel, about the idea of raising children that are going to be raised correctly. Do you remember I told you about a case that I heard about once, and it's basically no names, but just there's an imam, actually a simp imam, when you were saying these simp imams with their secret wives, like they say one thing in public and then they literally in their own lives, they turn around and do like something kind of egregious, but in public, he's this like very simpy, compassionate imam. And he had a first wife with whom he had some children, I don't know, some number of children. And then he married a second wife in secret and without letting the first one know. And then he had like some conditions for the second wife. And he said, look, I'll marry you. We can get married. It'll be in secret, but you need to work. I won't be able to like provide for you. You need to be okay with that. So you just like need to work. I will never be able to provide for you. Like, are you cool with that? Do you want to proceed? She said yes. Poor girl was like a convert, didn't have family. She was like, yeah, whatever. It's better than nothing. So she marries him. A year or two later, they have a kid. That is so sad. That poor baby was put in like non-Muslim, low level, like very cheap daycare because the mom is working some like low paying job, because she's on her own basically with the child. So that reminds me of, subhanAllah, you're having more kids. The idea is not to just pop out more and more and more kids. It's how are you raising them? And the dad, the guy with the two wives, this imam, has time and attention and affection for his first batch of children with the first wife because she's like real. She's the one on the books. This poor secret second wife doesn't have any of those sorts of resources, and now she's trying to provide for herself and her baby, and she can't be home to be a stay-at-home mom to watch her baby, so she's putting him in these daycares. And then when he got a little bit older, as soon as he could walk or whatever, at 3 or 4, he was in like public preschool. Now he's in public school and he's really struggling. SubhanAllah, the reality is he's the son of an imam, kind of like a famous kind of local imam or whatever, who gives sermons and khutbahs and things like that, but he's here in public school kind of being destroyed by the liberal brainwashing and indoctrination for the simple reason that the father is not providing, the mother is busy. She's busy paying the bills and paying rent, and so nobody's raising the kid. It's very sad.
Yeah, it's a very disgusting situation, but unfortunately, like, this is why, like, some women, they have a point. Like, unfortunately, you have men who are giving polygyny a bad name. Like, they're giving it a bad name with irresponsible behavior. Hilly Dilly says, I have an issue with men who want second wives but can't even financially take care of their first. Like your wife has to work to pay bills. You need a second job, not a second wife. Yes, agreed. Dawa Trucker, good to see you, bro. He says, brother Daniel and Khalid, assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. Daniel, I believe your wife is the best that you could have asked for. In this country, it's very difficult to maintain a second wife unless you're truly able to support a second. Yeah, so I get trashed on in the comments. You're getting praised, okay? You're the best, that anyone could ever imagine. But me, I'm just some bum. I'm not a Chad. They're like telling me, go to the gym, bro. Go to the gym, like chisel your jawline, fatty. Like, that's what I get. That's what I get in the comments. Okay, but you, oh, you're amazing. Oh, Khalid, like are these like your fangirls that you've like brigaded into?
Yeah, these are my secret fangirls. Yeah, I told them to flood the comments. Good job, guys. No, but who was that guy like a few streams ago, Daniel, who was like in the chat saying like, Daniel, when are you gonna start lifting, bro?
Yeah.
That
They're
cracked me up.
shaming me. They're like, yeah. So, no, I'm just joking, guys. Yes, alhamdulillah, I thank Allah every day that I have Khalid. Alhamdulillah, everyone make dua for her. So because she also gets attacked, obviously, it's not easy. Hassan says, "My African queens understand men." So this is a racial remark. Let's see. Dawa Trucker says, unfortunately, most Muslim women today have become so adverse to polygyny thanks to the secular liberal West, and they've also turned Muslim women ignorant about the benefit of it. Great stream. Thank you, bro. Rapid TV says, looks maxing is dunya, but getting a second wife isn't. Get real, bra. Yeah, I guess that's referring to the previous stream. Yeah, looks maxing is, it's like, it's doing haram. Like you're taking meth to lose weight and you're like getting plastic surgery, like that you're doing haram things. Getting a second wife is not haram. I don't know like what kind of Islam that you're familiar with, but polygyny is not actually haram. Breaking your cheekbone so that they will actually grow, that is haram. You're like distorting the creation of Allah. So that's the difference. I read that. Saeed says, I don't care. I'll be a simp for my wives.
Nice. Hey, there was this mug, like a mug that with like a message on it. And I think there was a mug I saw once online and it was like in big letters. It was like, I am loyal. And then in smaller letters on the bottom, to all 4 of my wives.
Exactly. Dow Trucker says, Daniel, if Khalid is all right with you taking on a second wife and you can agree with her points and from the Quran and Sunnah, then go for it, my brother. But she becomes the alpha, lol. Much respect and kudos to Khalid. So I have to get her permission now. Is that what you're saying, Dawa Trucker?
My permission
Sorry.
is needed. No, astaghfirullah. It's not needed. It is preferred. Mustahab. It's not wajib, but mustahab أيها الرجل.
No, don't say that. Don't say that.
No, astaghfirullah.
Let's see. Kalam Reminder says, same thing. Brother Daniel, when's your second marriage? Khalid seems happy to choose for you. I'm ready as well. Question mark.
Oh, is this a potential applicant? We're taking applicants, guys. No, I'm joking.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
That's gonna
I'm
cause
joking.
problems.
Yeah, people don't know my humor, so I think they might take me seriously. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, well now they're coming after you. Jawad says, Khalid, would you be sad at all if Daniel got a second wife tomorrow?
Or no. I would be like, whew, not my problem anymore. Peace out. And I would go live my life and I would live my best life doing, I don't know, having alone time. I never get alone time. That's the thing with a husband and 5 kids, you're homeschooling, you never get alone time. So I don't know if I would have time to be sad. I would just be like, oh, just resting. Daniel is a tiring person. No, I'm joking. He's a very chill husband, mashallah. Don't get any ideas, ladies, okay? But he is a very chill husband, mashallah. No, I don't know. It's a hypothetical, guys. So I don't know, like you can ask anybody anything hypothetically and they can give you one answer. And then if something happens in reality, then they might experience a whole different thing that they didn't expect, right? Or they didn't anticipate. So I can't answer that question. I don't know. Would I be sad at all? Probably, maybe. Yep, probably. I think this is the truth. This is the reality. As if everything before that I said was not true. But no, I think the truth is if a woman truly loves her husband, she will be sad. She would be unenthusiastic. We'll put it that way. She'll be unenthusiastic to share him, right? Because she loves him. So it makes sense. It's like logical, right? I like a kid, like a little kid who loves a toy. I love this toy truck. And if I have to share this toy truck, my favorite truck, with another little kid, me as a little kid, I would hate it. No, this truck is mine. Get away. Get your own truck, So it's kind of not to make comparisons with wives and children, but
it's territorial.
Women can be very territorial and very jealous, like a female territorialness and a female jealousy. And I think that's natural, as we see from the Sahabiyat or the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, the wives of the Prophet. So it's normal, but I think it's just about the levels that you let it reach, right? So if you have internal grounding and you have a strong relationship with Allah and you have some sort of tawakkul, or you're trying to strive for tawakkul and the idea of barakah and tawakkul ala Allah wal rida wal qana'a, contentment and satisfaction, then I think those things will help you, inshallah. And this idea, remember I was talking about before about the identity of who am I? I'm a servant of Allah. I'm a slave of Allah and an amatullah. I'm not primarily, of course, I am the wife of Daniel. That's a huge part of my identity. I'm not trying to downgrade that or dismiss that. But if that's my number one, and then after that I'm amatullah or a slave of Allah, then that's messed up. That's reverse. So it's like, put your priorities straight. And I think any Muslim woman, or not any, but some Muslim women, if they can do that and they have the self-awareness, the maturity, the emotional maturity, the wherewithal emotionally and psychologically to be able to handle, and they don't have like a sense of immediate rejection or fears of abandonment and fears of like insecurities and fear, like these feelings of deep inadequacies, all of these psychological things, right? So if you've addressed that and you've done a lot of inner work on yourself, then which comes with age and experience, I will say, in many cases, then it will be easier for you, I think. Allahu alam. Again, it won't be easy where like zero sadness, but it'll be easier. But women who are more fragile, more brittle inside, psychologically, they're not whole, there's a lot of things that aren't in place, then they will be devastated. And that's what we were talking about. But I don't, if you love your husband as a wife, yeah, it'll always probably sting a little. So
look at Brother Kamran's comment. Marry 4 wives at the same time so they all get to know each other from the beginning. Bro's playing 5D chess.
This is 7D chess.
Yes, 7D chess. Jawad also says, was there a specific red pilling moment for you, Khalid? Any videos that I can show my wife? LOL.
Well, as Daniel slowly started to get more and more red pilled. No, I don't know. I think a wife who loves her husband will naturally follow.
I was red pilled from the beginning. Okay.
That is true. That's actually
women's
true.
education, I told you, on our first halal date, that was the first topic of discussion. Well, not the first topic, but on the first halal date, I said, I don't believe in women's education, right?
That was like
17 years ago.
Yeah, like 18 or 17 and a half years. This is the 18th year. So yeah, I was like, does this guy know that I'm literally still at Harvard? I hadn't even finished. I was in my senior year at Harvard. I'm writing my senior thesis right now. After we finish eating dinner, I have to go back and edit my senior thesis. What do you mean you don't believe in women's education? Is this a Twilight Zone? Is he like punking me? Anyway, but you're right. You have actually always been.
Like people think that they've been red pilled by Andrew Tate like 2 years ago. Like they just discovered like that feminism is a problem like 2 years ago. Like I was red pilled like 2 decades ago. Like this is not something. This is not new stuff. In fact, like the red pill movement stuff is kind of low grade critique of feminism. But anyway, I just have to show my credentials. Like I have to brag a little bit that I was red pill like way before any of this. But go ahead.
You were also red pilled on a lot of stuff like homeschooling. We actually, before we got married, we talked about, because we were having that like introductory session where you kind of get all your questions out to see if there's compatibility. And I remember we talked about schooling and public school, private school, or homeschooling, and you said, "Oh, homeschool." And I was a little bit. I think I liked the idea, but no, was it my idea? I can't remember. I don't. I know you always claim that it's
your idea.
I think. I don't
didn't have any ideas. Okay, it's all me. I'm the puppet master.
Anyway, well, natural labor was my idea, which was, I don't know if that counts as red pill. But basically, look, if a woman loves her husband, I think she will follow him naturally if he's a leader, if he's like a true leader and I'm going to say this unironically, if he's like a patriarch. And like meaning like he embodies like ideas of like true masculinity and prophetic like behaviors and ways of being and how he treats everyone, including his wife. And he doesn't put her on a pedestal, but he respects and, honors her in the way that Islam, rifqan bil qawarir, like be careful with the glass vessels, as the Prophet ﷺ said. So he treats her with a certain kind of kindness and care for her as his wife, but without putting her on this weird pedestal and like worshiping her and all these weird things that feminists call for or promote. So I think, but if a wife feels that from her husband, she'll naturally, I think, want to follow him, and especially if it's borne out by her reality. So I think in my life, I'll tell you guys something very personal. but generic, don't worry. But still, like, I don't know if I've written posts about this on Facebook or anything, but a lot of the things that I've seen around me in real life, in my actual life or lives of people around me that I've seen, because feminism teaches you that women are always victims and men are always villains. Always. Oh, men are oppressors and women are oppressed. Men are bad, women are good. Men are strong, like, in a bad way, and women are weak. So that's the dichotomy, right? But in my real life, when I started reflecting and started becoming more aware and more self-aware, I started to realize that I've seen the opposite play out. You know, I'm not saying every woman or every man, but I've seen so many examples that went against this feminist psychology or feminist brainwashing that it started to red pill me. So part of it was my husband, part of it was actually Daniel, and part of it was my own awakening and my own realization and my own, like, dawning on me that, wow, like, wait, women are supposed to be weak. What about this woman? She's the most aggressive person I've ever seen, more than men. Or this person, she was like the villain in this situation, the clear, unambiguous villain. And the man was actually downtrodden and he was suffering. And who has any sympathy for him? And in fact, she plays the fake tears, the crocodile tears, and she gets the sympathy when she's really the villain, and she's like, and egregiously so, you know? Anyway, so the point is, like, when you start to realize, like, the fakeness and the lies of feminism, and then your husband is, also telling you. So I feel like I heard this once from a person a long time ago, and I think it's true. You can't be the only person in your woman's life who's, like, red pilling her. I think that you can, but it takes a little bit longer. You agree, Daniel? I feel like you need to be, like, red pilled or, like, truth pilled or whatever, Islam pilled. And then also, if she has friends who are along the same path, who can kind of, like, help her, she needs to hear it from, I think, more than just one source. I think that helps, or at least it speeds up the process. Right.
Yeah. In terms of videos, like, it's just what, like, the brother was asking for things to watch. Just watch Khalid stuff. Like, watch like, your wife can watch Khalid, and there's plenty of material. Or follow on Facebook, like, her posts. Like, that's gonna be red pilling in a way that Muslim women will be amenable to. But I agree with you. Relatable Panda says, Bismillah, thank you for your big super chat, bro. Muslim Boogeyman, our moderator, thank you, bro. One of our moderators. I can attest to Brother Daniel's fairness and equitability and his ability to manage multiple responsibilities. So he's giving me a letter of recommendation. Like, this is that I am actually qualified for multiple wives. Thank you, bro. the true wingman. Huh?
I said, what does that mean? What are you implying, Muslim Boogeyman?
Dow Checker says, what's so beautiful about the life of the Prophet ﷺ and his multiple marriages is the fact that all his wives were divided into two camps and they competed with each other for the love and attention of him. Interesting. Yeah, Sheikha says, what do you say about cultures who say second wives are, like, equivalent to mistresses and the first wife is the legitimate wife? Disagree. Like, those cultures are just not Islamic.
I think
they've been affected by Christianity.
Yeah, they see the second wife as a homewrecker. And they see her like a mistress, homewrecker, like side chick, all these things. Many words that are much meaner than that. But yeah, they see her as a homewrecker. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the second wife. And it's also like, it also gasses up the first wife. Like, definitely the first wife has, like, a claim that the second wife doesn't have, but just by virtue of time and years with the husband, unless they got married, like, together on the same day, which is rare. But the first wife, like, that's okay. This is one thing I wanted to say, but I forgot. But this comment reminds me: the first wife, or any wife, the wife in general, if you have a monogamous marriage, a husband and wife, the wife. Remember, Daniel, you're talking about hierarchy and authority. The husband is authority, and sometimes wives get it twisted where they don't understand. Because of feminism and liberalism, they think that we're equals. You and I are the same. You and I are standing on the same, like, daraja, the same level. And so you own me, but I own you. And, like, but the thing is, the husband actually, he doesn't own the wife. We all belong to Allah. But the husband has authority over the wife. And what he gets in a marriage is exclusivity. Like, exclusive access or ownership or possession of the wife in a way that basically he's her only husband, right? She can't go and have another husband, but it's not the same. It's not equal, Habibti. Be careful and don't get it twisted and think, well, if he gets that, then I get that. Surely it's the same. No, it's not the same. And what you get from him is not all his resources. You get some of his resources, and then you get some of his time, some of his attention, all of that you get. And he needs to give you nafaqah, provide for you, protect you, all of that. But you do not have a monopoly on him. And he can go out and get a second wife because he never promised you exclusivity. You promised him exclusivity. Does that make sense? So I think this point, and it goes back to the وَلِلرِّجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةٌ, you know? وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَلِلرِّجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةٌ, as Allah says in the ayah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, for them, for the women, the feminine plural, for the women is like to them, like they get what they have to give, like to them is like what is on them of ma'ruf, of kindness or goodness or what is known. But, and Allah adds this phrase, very important, وَلِلرِّجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةٌ, and men have a degree over them, right? A level above them. And so we know that. So I think, but women, we tend to dismiss that second phrase. Like, oh, I get what I give. Like, what's coming to me is what I give out. And it's kind of equal. No, he has a degree over you. So he never promised you exclusivity, but you did promise him exclusivity. That's what it means. Marriage in Islam, that's what it involves. That's what it entails. So if he gets a second wife, he's not, like, again, it has to do with how he does it and everything, but it's not inherently wrong. It can't be inherently wrong, because as long as he gives you what he owes you of nafaqah and protection and guidance and all that. So anyway, I had to go on that rant.
Makes sense. Dawah Trucker says, Dua, oh Allah, I ask you to protect Daniel, Khalid, and their children from the harm, envy, and hatred of the haters. Preserve them both from slander. Ameen. Jazakallah khair, bro. We appreciate you. Our regular super chatter, Dawah Trucker. Always good to see the bro. And Yek for you as well, brother. Let's see. Rocket League says, brother, you take a second. The first one goes away. Hopefully not. Hopefully, if you educate her on what she needs to know, then she won't go away. Bismillah. Usman says, your advice for a husband whose wife has very bad and long tongue. They have 2 kids. Husband doesn't divorce, so kids do not lose mother or father, but life is getting harder and harder for the husband. So the advice that I would give is, you should just talk to your wife, explain to her the harm that comes from having a long tongue. Like, does that mean like spreading secrets, like spreading rumors, doing ghaiba? Like, what exactly she's doing? These kinds of things that are haram. Speaking, like, she should be reminded of Allah. She should be reminded that this is contrary to the deen, that there are consequences for this. Like, her good deeds are going to be burned up. Her good deeds are going to be wasted away because she's harming others with her tongue. Reminder of the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever controls this and this, like what is between the lips and what is between the legs, I will guarantee for him paradise. Like, she can't control her tongue, then look at what she's potentially giving up. She's giving up paradise and earning hellfire. So all of these reminders need to be given. And like, in terms of practical advice, sometimes women have long tongues because of bad influences. Like, they have a bad friend group. They are around other gossipy women who do not care about the rights of Allah and the rights of man. So they are engaged in ghaiba. They're engaged in doing the haram things with their tongue. So if she's in that friend group, she needs to be excised. She needs to be taken out of that friend group. Sometimes they have bad relatives. Okay. And this is a misconception. Like, if there's a relative, could even be like family members, like a mother or father or aunt or uncle or sister or brother that is encouraging her to do haram. You can't cut her off from her family, but you can limit. Like, you can limit the influence on that family member on your wife. And there are subtle ways to do that, or more drastic ways to do that. But you have to, usually when it comes to women falling into these kinds of problems, it's because they're being influenced by others, or they're being tempted, they're in an environment, in a situation where they are more inclined to engage in this behavior, you have to cut that off. That's the advice that I would give. That's what comes to mind. Khalid, what's your thoughts?
One thing that came to mind for me is the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about why women are gonna be the majority, or the majority of women will be in the hellfire. Bin-nar, Allah yahfadna. May Allah keep us safe from it. But one thing I remember, I read this hadith early on in our marriage, Daniel, like year 1 or something, and I just stumbled across the hadith. I was reading something, and it hit me so hard, and I wrote it down in my journal so I don't forget it, because it was like وَيَكْفُرْنَ الْحَدِيث. That hadith about women are the Prophet ﷺ was passing by a group of Ansari women. I said basically, oh women, تصدقن يا أيها النساء تصدقن, and these, for I've seen the majority of hellfire be women, or كما قال الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. I'm just paraphrasing, guys. I don't have the hadith in front of me, and they said وَلِمَا يا رسول الله, why ya Rasulullah? And he said, because you are ungrateful. Like basically something about lan, and when this man was saying she has a bad tongue or a long tongue, it reminded me of like lan, cursing, and just like whether it's using cuss words or foul language, or just like speaking ill, or just constant. Some women just have a very sharp tongue. They're just constantly chastising their husband or their kids, or screaming, or just like nagging. It's like very unpleasant. It's very, very difficult to live with. It's difficult to be around for short periods of time, never mind to live day and night with this. It drives you crazy after a while. So the Prophet ﷺ was like gesturing at these sorts of things, basically the sins of the tongue. Women are constantly doing, basically cursing their husbands out, or just being like very ungrateful, and then specifically وَيَكْفُرْنَ الْعَشِيرَ, and they forget the good that the husband has done. So it's very dangerous. So like you don't want to be in that. So the wife, I mean, I don't know if you've reminded her, maybe she needs somebody else to come and remind her, or she needs to watch a video, and I think also it reminds me of tazkiyat an-nafs, that people like this who refuse, especially if it's long term and chronic, it's not like one off. We all say things sometimes that are wrong, but if it's like persistent, like tazkiyat an-nafs could be a problem, like amrad al-qulub, like the diseases of the heart. So if she has no fear of Allah, and she doesn't worry about ghiba and things like that, then it's like a deeper problem, like a spiritual problem, So may Allah make it easy. May Allah cure her and cure all of us of our ailments. And
I mean, okay. So there were a couple of other super chats, but they go kind of unrelated. Daniel, do you think a mother can homeschool children if she's not educated to some level? Yes. We can go follow Khalid on Facebook. You can see or search her articles on MuslimSkeptic.com to read all about it. That's a really robust resource that we have. Alhamdulillah, Khalid has been writing for years on this topic. You can go get a detailed answer. And I think we have a stream also that we did many years ago on homeschooling. If you want to watch something instead, that's on the channel. Defi Hustle says, my revert wife works for a life insurance company. The policy is 100% payout all their customers. Can you explain what about it is haram, as there are many justifications as to why it's okay? Not really related to the topic of our stream, but go and read, go to a mufti, explain, get a fatwa from a mufti. We're not muftis here. So we can't give you a fatwa, but always keep in mind the spiritual aspect, that if there's something that's haram that you give up for the sake of Allah, Allah will replace it or increase you with something that's better. So always keep that in mind, and just, go to a qualified mufti. Don't fatwa shop, but get an honest opinion, and he'll explain why, given the details of this particular job, why it is permissible or impermissible. But it's not something that we can really address on this stream. All right, guys, that is the show. That is our show with Khalid. Thank you, everyone who watched. Thank you to Khalid as well for giving us our insights and her insights, and kind of being on the chopping block in a sense with this kind of topic. And then also don't forget the retreat, Global Ummah Retreats, Marriage School. Link is in the description. Check it out. If you like this conversation with Khalid, you like what we have to say, you're going to really like Marriage School. You can go and join us in April in Turkey. Get all the information from the website that's linked below. And we hope to see you there. And if you can't actually go to Turkey, now you can actually participate remotely by watching parts of the retreat and even interacting. Like there is going to be ability to submit questions as well that we can address remotely. So it's a big opportunity. Global Ummah Retreats, Marriage School, coming in April, bidhnillah. Okay, guys, so that is what we have. We will see you on the next show, the next live stream that we have. And that is it. So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Are you single and tired of searching but never finding?
Or maybe you're already married, caught in cycles of frustration, unmet expectations, or just feeling like something is missing.
Or perhaps you're navigating the loneliness and pain after a divorce, unsure how to move forward, but knowing deep down this can't be the end of your story.
Wherever you are in your journey, you're not alone, and you don't have to stay stuck.
That's why we created Marriage School, a 4-day marriage revival retreat in Istanbul, Turkey. 4 transformational days.
5 powerful speakers.
1
to reset your marriage. For married couples, this retreat is your invitation to rediscover each other in one of the world's most beautiful cities.
Imagine strolling through the historic streets of Istanbul,
sharing beautiful moments with your family.
Turn your marriage into a lifelong journey of sakina, where love is rekindled,
passion is renewed, and your bond deepens through inspiring seminars, workshops, and experiences designed just for you.
And for those sisters who need to bring a mahram, we have a special offer for you.
Sign up and register, and your mahram joins for free.
This is only for a limited time. Register now at the Marriage School at globalummahretreats.com. We'll see you in Istanbul, inshallah.